All right, let's get that a try. Thank you. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty, so. Meeting to order, we had our opening ceremony. Has everybody had a chance to review the agenda? And does anybody have any conflicts? Otherwise, we will, God bless you, consider the agenda approved. Madam Auditor, would you please read the minutes from our last meeting?
Gotcha.
Thank you.
April 30th, 2024, Board of Supervisors met at 9 a.m. with Jean Hayden, Chair, presiding members present, Schultz, Dozark, Hayden, Mulbauer, and Rosberg. Minutes of the previous meeting were read and approved. The board approved change of wage for Derek Hoyle, construction employee 1, Damon Schmidt, road foreman, Troy Rosberg, maintenance employee 2, Damon Crampton, maintenance employee 1, Anthony Kiner, maintenance and employee 2 in the engineer's office. Board approved change of wage for Leslie Getz, RN, Sherry Roeder, RN, Beth Hanks, RN in public health. Lisa Fox, Fox Creek fundraising, attending via Zoom, spoke with the board about their government grant writers and their 85% success rate with helping counties with grant funding. A motion was made by Dozark, seconded by Mulbauer, to rescind the notice of public hearing related to the vacation of the following roadway segments, all that part of 273rd Street lying north of Deloitte Boulevard in the west half of section 248439, and all that part of an unnamed roadway lying east of Deloitte Boulevard in the southwest quarter of the northeast quarter, section 58438. Hearing date was set for May 7th. Motion passed unanimously. A motion was made by Dozark, seconded by Mulbauer, to approve the notice of hearing, public hearing related to that same vacation with the hearing date of May 21st, 2024 at 10:05. Motion passed unanimously. A motion was made by Schultz, seconded by Dozark, to approve the permit to work in the road right of way in Crawford County, allowing Ingus Geotechnics to pass over approximately 100 miles of granular surfacing roads to map and gather subgrade strength data. Motion passed unanimously. A motion was made by Dozark, seconded by Rosberg, to approve the funds requested by Rachel Burns for training as a medical examiner investigator. Motion passed unanimously. Motion was made by Schultz, seconded by Mulbauer, to approve following resolution 2024-13. Approval of fiscal year 24-25 budget and certification of taxes. Voting aye, Schultz, Dozark, Hayden, Mulbauer, and Rosberg. Motion passed unanimously. Motion was made by Rosberg, seconded by Dozark, to approve the following resolution 2024-14. Certificate of appointment of civil process server, appointing Amy Sigabart from the Sheriff's Department as civil processor. Voting aye, Schultz, Dozark, Hayden, Mulbauer, and Rosberg. Motion passed unanimously. A motion was made by Mulbauer, seconded by Dozark, to approve the troubleshooting, estimate for the jail generator from Cummins Sales and Service for $1,950.20. Motion passed unanimously. A motion was made by Schultz, seconded by Mulbauer, to approve the RFP for the city center basement area to Innovation Construction LLC for $82,694.52. Motion passed unanimously. A motion was made by Schultz, seconded by Dozark, to approve the appointment of Jean Hayden as representative to the Iowa Government Health Care Plan Board. Motion passed unanimously. Motion was made by Schultz, seconded by Mulbauer, to approve the board chair to sign prior credit letter. Motion passed unanimously. A motion was made by Mulbauer, seconded by Rosberg, to approve the following resolution 2024-15, the health insurance premiums plan for 24-25. Voting aye, Schultz, Dozark, Heighton, Mulbauer, and Rosberg. Motion passed unanimously. On motion duly second, the board adjourned at 11:25 a.m. Agendas for the next meeting are posted and available at the courthouse on Friday, 4:30 p.m. preceding the next meeting.
All right, anybody?
I'm glad I read through them last night, there.
There was a lot of activity going on
There
that
seem
meeting.
to have been.
Yes,
So did the Innovative Solutions,
yeah.
have they started or have they set a start date time
It's
or?
got it.
What?
They were there Wednesday morning.
They were?
Yeah, they
Oh,
came
awesome.
and got the key and
Yep,
Okay,
yep.
away they
all
go.
right,
And
awesome.
I'm working on getting the key to the bottom door. They
Okay.
still have to put in the.
They've been opening it from the inside to
right,
get
and
their
they
stuff
open-
out
yeah,
and that's
which-
been working, but yeah, that would be appreciative.
They still have to put the automatic door in for us. but-
Oh, okay.
How big of a crew do they have?
Uh,
Is it just two guys or three?
it was a pretty
It's him and one guy? Oh,
good job.
Juan had reached out to me Wednesday and I reached out to Gene. We went and met him. There was probably six, maybe 5 or 6 of them
It
working
was
there.
there were so many and so dusty and so just that
Appeared to be chaos.
it appeared to be, but it was organized chaos as they were, I think they had half the dumpster full by the time we got there. It was amazing.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
And the
Good.
good thing about that is that dusty stuff is kind of had a chance to now settle, so that as she's painting upstairs, you know, we kind of maybe should put some plastic going.
She
In the
She
stairwell.
will.
Yep, yeah, she will.
Mhm.
Okay, I think we did talk about
Mhm.
that, so, yeah,
So-
things are moving.
Okay, awesome.
And I reached out to Juan and Thursday, see how it went. And he said everything's gutted except for a couple places where need electrician in there to deadhead some wires or redo some electrical, so.
Okay,
And he had to call in with his electrical culvert. I think it's Larry.
very
Larry, maybe,
good.
get that done, so. It's moving right along. He was going to get the leads and get cabinets officially ordered, get that stuff coming, so. I don't think he plans on dragging this out too
Gonna
long.
get whiplash.
I just want to make sure.
I did go up to Kyron Lumber and kind of look at the different cabinets that he kind of were thinking, and I said, I don't have to live with them, so let Louise, because there's a lighter one and a darker one, but just kind of a middle grade. You know, it's not gonna be the Taj Mahal, it's just gonna be, so Louise has the final say on that. Well, their painting has started upstairs, and I think there was some confusion on what color some walls were supposed to be, so they're working all of that out, but all of that cotton has been there. So things are.
So we have that main water
Yes.
line moved
No,
out of Jake's.
No.
Not, it has not, but he has traced it to where it has to go.
right.
I thought it looked like it was gone the other day when I
Well,
was in there, but I just.
He's
didn't-
gonna segregate it off so
Okay.
they can still use that bathroom on the north
Right.
side of the basement. And the IT people can
Yep.
get to work.
So you can go over there or?
No, I talked to Melvin this morning,
Okay.
actually.
I actually was handy in that I could go upstairs and tap on the pipe so he would know that we were where he thought he was. So I felt
Oh,
very useful that
awesome.
day.
Well, that's
Yeah.
Jerry was also with me to make sure I was.
You got a career occupation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's
Keeping
gonna
my
be
day
getting there
job,
to,
keeping my day job,
Yeah.
but, cause you know, you kind of think, well, is this the one that goes to that, you know, big sink, or are we here? Cause you lose track, but that is a very well-constructed building. It's very, very structurally
I
sound.
didn't know that was gonna be in your job description for.
Well, you know, other jobs as assigned, but he just called and wanted me to come, and I grabbed Jerry and we went in, and, between him Jerry and I were upstairs and he was downstairs, and we were trying to figure out what rooms had to keep the water and which ones didn't to make sure. So
Yeah, good.
yeah, so other jobs as assigned. Yeah, so that is the best news too. And
Thanks
then,
for doing all you can to expedite the project.
you are welcome. And as long as I have the floor for just a second, the purchase agreements and so forth will be, Rita Scheckinger at Dennison Realty will be making out the actual multi-listing forms. All of the real estate agents are aware. They're doing their market analysis, so to kind of come up with what they feel the value When we originally purchased the building, I had a couple of them just give me a little market analysis. They say based on what real estate's going for uptown Denison, it's probably gonna be a little bit more than what they originally had told me. So we'll see what those come in at, but, should have paperwork to sign on that here in the next couple of weeks.
Did they say, do they have any outside interest
Well,
or?
I will say that that would be the typical thing that you, when you put a house on the market or anything that, oh, they think they have somebody,
Right.
so I'm gonna say that did happen. but,
Okay,
And it could be, I actually, a couple months ago, somebody had approached me about it, and I called that person and they've already found another piece of property, but, sounds like it might be okay. So, yeah, so things are moving along there also. Yes. Yes. This is unusual. Go ahead.
So how much involvement is CDC in the process of trying to acquire a business that maybe would be interested in have the,
With their incubation, they have that little, we could involve them to see if they have people that have reached out. I'll talk to, in fact, I have a meeting with, Paul here next couple of days to talk about, they're bringing the big band of hairball and they will not fit where the stage normally is. And so Jerry and I are gonna go talk to him to make sure that they put it up here where it was for Rag Ride, because they bring a lot of stuff and a lot of people. Back when I was the green room hostess, I think that would have been in the, gosh, when did we first start doing it? They required a steak dinner with a white tablecloth that long ago, and they've become very well known and they're a very popular band, so I can about imagine what that green list is gonna look like. So I need to start working on that
But
already.
if CDC has the pulse on economic development in our county,
They do.
they should be aware of what businesses are looking to come in, or existing businesses that want to expand.
Yep.
And maybe, help in the process of.
And it's right next door to them, so I will stop in today when I have my other meeting and bring that up to them, see if they have somebody just looking for a place to come, so, good idea, thank you. All right, so, who wants, that was, Kyle kind of started, Kyle, do you want to just continue?
I'm good.
You're good?
That's all I had.
All right, just move over here to Craig, what do you have? Meetings and.
I will just report that, Wesco did purchase a lot in town at, I think 19th Street and 6th Avenue North. I think it was owned by Jim Gahn, I believe is who owned it. And so, what's that?
I know where
You know
that.
that, okay.
Yeah.
I haven't driven by there.
Say the
They
address
had
again,
They had a vote just by email. We responded back.
what was the address?
I think it was 19th Street and 6th Avenue North.
So it's like south of, or north of his house, no, south of his house,
Okay,
kind of, behind, sort of.
I think I know where it is, I'll find it.
So, the other thing I wanted to just report on is I'd like to bring these stories. This is from West Central Community Action and their family development and self-sufficiency. It's moved to a division now of HHS. But here's a monthly success story. These are, husband and wife, ages 38 and 35. They're married. They have two daughters, 17 and 14. They were enrolled in the program September 26th of 2023. And here's an overview of the family situation. Upon entry is at enrollment. The participants are a married couple with two daughters. The family are refugees from Ukraine who were escaping the war. They came to Iowa through a sponsor, and 2 months after they arrived, the sponsor unexpectedly passed away in a farming accident. Their main barriers and issues, certainly language barrier, lack of transportation, unemployed, family financial stability, and the goals that were accomplished and activities done with their family development self-sufficiency worker was the participant found employment, navigating the DHS paperwork, LIHEAP application, that's low income energy assistance program, budgeting and saving, applying for a credit card, issues with Homeland Security, collaborations and referrals with other agencies. They work with DHS, English learning programs, doctors and dentists in the area and job leads. And they exited the program March 25th of 2024. And the family situation is the husband and wife have secured employment. This has put them over the 225% federal poverty level. They were able to save money and purchase their first car. They are continuing to learn English. They no longer receive assistance due to their increased income and self-sufficiency goals were met. So,
Wow.
And a good success story.
right, when you talk about government programs and, you know, do they do any good? That's, to me, that's how you
what
wish
it's
they
all
would
about.
all.
That is
work.
exactly.
Especially after the little catastrophe it starts where you
Right.
lose your sponsor, they're like, wow.
Wow, thanks for bringing that up.
The world's against you.
Wanted to report on that.
That's excellent.
Outstanding, thank you.
Make this be
Nice
good
share
news
of the-
Tuesday.
Good news Tuesday, like that. And I will just say, reading, once again, just going through the history, just so you, because it is curious that we just got approved our health insurance last week at a cost, I believe, that the county is gonna pay, not what we're also charging employees, but the bill is $2.5 million. Is that correct?
That includes what the employees
That
pay.
includes what the
Yeah.
employee
It does.
pays. And so back in 1980, I don't think the employees paid anything. And the winning bid was the Hoffman Agency at $98,000.
Wow.
Well, there went our good news story.
So, I mean, that just tells you what inflation and what health insurance premiums have
Yeah.
done over and how to keep up. You know, as a public entity trying to keep your taxes low and you got these costs are just careening out of control,
Excellent, yeah.
but.
There we go.
To piggyback off that, and I don't know, Chuck, we haven't seen it from Chuck for a while, and I haven't anyways. Remember how he used to give us every year what our overall budget was from like back in the eighties to now? Like, I think back then, what was it, 4 or 5 million? And now we're 22. I mean, just to see how budgets have increased year after year after year, and it's inflation and
Right.
cost and.
And trying still to keep it lower,
Right.
trying to save money,
Yeah,
It's
and
a
how
juggle.
it's so hard to do when all the costs are going up.
Okay.
But that's all I have.
Very good, very
Okay.
nice. We'll just keep going down the line.
All right, I really don't have a lot this week. I did reach out to Jeremy Voss from Dallas County. He is no longer with Dallas County, so I'm still digging into that, trying to get a hold of someone with basically their CDC out there for what we had talked about with what they're doing for abatements and commercial abatements. So I don't have much to report because I haven't got any information back.
yeah.
He did say that we talked a little bit, really nice guy, he just moved on to a different job. But it is absolutely amazing how fast some of those counties are growing.
Yeah.
And the challenge really is keeping up with them.
Well,
You know, you think about streets, utilities, electricity, you just all of it. You know, even just the police force,
Yeah,
you know, that many people coming in every year. It's hard to budget and how to predict what you need. But, so I'm still digging into that. The other thing I do have this week is Region 12 is on Thursday at 12:30 noon, you know, we have our executive board meeting. I have to go through here, but otherwise, that's about it.
Don't forget, Thursday, we also have a conference board meeting.
What time?
that's right.
What did we set that for?
I had to put it in my
Did Seth set a time?
Yeah.
Send his email
Yep,
to
I
us?
think
calendar. He
so.
sent it to us.
Yeah, I
Yep.
saw
Was it
that.
6 o'clock at night?
And yes, and we're offering a Zoom side of that. I feel we'll
Yeah.
have better attendance if, you know, since it's a rather short
What
meeting
date?
with it's,
Conference board.
May 9th.
Monday,
May 9th.
not the-
Yeah,
no,
we can find it.
Monday.
It's 6 o'clock, I'm sure, because we want to make sure, but I think the Zoom option would help. If, you know, for such a short meeting, if you're driving in from, you know, West Side or Westway, you can just zoom in and still be part of it. Short menu, short agenda, so don't
Where's
forget
the
that one.
agenda? Is it down on the board downstairs?
It
Is that
should
the
be.
only place?
It should be, I don't know where else he's been required. They've always kind of taken over, getting that all
That's the way
out.
they've always done it.
Yep.
Got it.
Gene. That's your least favorite
It
phrase.
is my least favorite phrase, but some things are hard to change, so, yeah,
You do have a
Thursday, the
website?
9th at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, there you go. Our
I know.
website's probably be the best place for it.
It will, and I'll make sure that he starts doing that.
Thank you.
Yes, I will make
I
sure.
will
When do
say
you even have
too, I
a
guess,
website?
just to follow up, before we go to Ty, is that last week when I talked about reading those old resolutions in the county emergency management committee or whatever, we should have a hazardous plan in place. So I stopped in and did talk to Greg Miller, and he said that Terry should have that. So I'm gonna stop in and see Terry's this week.
I'm looking at it right now.
Look back in 1989 and see if we can find
Probably should
those
update that.
resolutions. I mean, I see that there was passed the Iowa chapter, I don't remember the number, if it's chapter 29, but giving the authority for the counties to form these type of hazardous or emergency response committees, and according to the state statute, is that the committee should be made up of the sheriff, one person from the board of supervisors, and then the mayor of every incorporated city within the county would make up that committee, or their designee. So I don't know if that, if the board of supervisors designated our emergency management, person, or E911 person, or if they actually had a member of the board serving. I don't know.
Back then, I don't know.
Aaron, we can hear you.
Aaron, Aaron, you need to mute, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Gene,
Yes.
on that, and maybe Kyle, don't we typically with our hazardous mitigation plan that gets renewed through Region 12 every 5 years or 7?
I'm not exactly sure on the,
But we have, or Greg has,
yeah.
Region 12 write up that plan.
Mhm.
Remember, Terry?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, yeah, I remember him being in here and us approving it. I just don't remember how
We haven't done
often
it
it is.
since we've gone.
I'm gonna ask Curtis Thursday when I'm at Region 12,
It's
but
5 years.
Yeah, Chris probably does.
I think so. I thought Chris worked with like Greg to write up that mitigation plan, and every so many years when it needs renewed, I just can't remember how many years that.
Yeah, some of the more recent issues
right, I mean,
probably have things that we may or may not have in detail that we need to.
If it's every 5 years, it should be about time to do it again, because if no one here can remember, it's been
you
a
got
while.
4-year terms,
Yeah,
it should be
yeah,
about.
Some of us has been here a while, I'm pointing to the guy on the.
No,
Yeah,
that's what I remember doing. I just don't
Okay,
remember.
all right.
I don't
If
remember
it was
the
5 years ago or 6
if you
years ago.
remember, so we know it's probably within the last 8-ish.
All right, all right, all right, you'll follow up.
Also, I'm looking at Seth's email about the conference board meeting.
Mhm.
It is May 9th, 6 o'clock, but there is not a link to the Zoom meeting, so
He has to send the agenda yet. He said that he's going to,
with the Zoom link on it. Okay.
Yep. And when he does that, then I'll make sure that goes up to the website, so I'm gonna hopefully see to it that he does that today.
Okay.
So yeah, everybody has a chance to review it, and if there's any adjustments or changes, so I'm on that one. Is that it for you, Dave?
That's it.
Hi, you're next.
I don't think I got 20 minutes worth, but
Well, we can,
I'll give you
like,
some.
say so, you
Well,
can
Gene
take
hasn't
a break.
spoke yet.
Oh, there we go. Well, kind of have.
I have. You go.
Okay, last week I really didn't have a very busy week, meeting wise, but I did have a webinar that's for my International Economic Development Task Force for NACO. And, it was the, site selection stuff, I guess the easiest thing is that would be to start to explain what the primary goal that this task force is. Every year, they have this they call it Summit USA, and it's an international development, basically conference, and people come from all over the world. This year, they're expecting about $100 billion worth of revenues to come into the United States from foreign countries, Europe being the primary zone that people come from, a fair amount from Asia, Australia, obviously Canada, because we don't always think about Canada and Mexico as being foreign because they're our close neighbors, but they're also considered foreign, so they come to this and there's a lot of people come to it from these countries. It's where you get together and, kind of see who's looking for what. And then see what they want to see what you have to offer. And the more of these seminars I've done, the more I realize we got a lot of work to do. And the first one was on how to sell your county or your community. And we're a county that, from my perspective, so it's selling the whole county. So we gotta have things. Now, we do have like our education covered, because WITS covers a lot of the different types of education we need, whether it's medical, weldings and all the blue collar type things that an industry might be working for, plus some white collar stuff. And so education wise, and the community's actually trying to do, we've got 2 great county parks, a lot of great city parks in all of our, bigger communities, and obviously in Denison. But so they're looking for that quality of life stuff. We've got some nice events that we have on, tourism type events, but like the rec centers, so we've got some of them bases that we're really working to cover well. And if we keep working on that, that's something that they were talking about, like a couple of the German companies, that's our chair of this committee. He's actually the economic developer for Erie County, PA, and my razor's sharp. This guy he's spot on. He's fun to listen to, but he's worked with multiple since he went last year. And he said last year he went, now this guy's got a master's in economic development. He said, when I went to this, it was like drinking out of a fire hose. He said, there was so much coming at you so fast. He said, but I made a lot of contacts. He couldn't figure out where to go at first. He said, but I made all my best contacts between the where everybody would go to eat in the bathroom. He said, I went and seen faces from the different places. And he said, and then he said, I'd kind of hang out and watch for them. So it was kind of interesting how he did that, and he's one of them guys that could walk up and talk to anybody. So, he's probably pretty good at that. But some of the German companies, and actually one of them, I think the way it sounded, the ones actually moving into Erie County, he said they're looking for more personable things, so that we would be a very welcome community to that, even though we don't have the industrial parks yet. We probably don't have the infrastructure they're looking for yet. We do have a great water supply, DMU, in the Denison area, and we've got a good rural water system. So, we've got some of those things covered, but, we don't have the industrial park. What do we have is there a spec building in Schleswig still? That's filled.
I'm pretty sure that's where the concrete plant is now.
That's where Bedrock's at, okay. That's what I thought, that was the one. I didn't know if there was another one, because that got brought up over at the CDC. And I said, and then Chewy's down here in the one that we had in Denison. So we really don't have a spec building. And boy, when they were showing us slides of different types of things all over. And actually one county had a spec building, but it looked like they just kind of cleaned out an whole building that was there. It didn't look too good. So make sure you got something that's very presentable they were trying to put forward. So we need some things like that going forward. And obviously none of that's free. So we can only do what we can do, but mostly it's supposed to work through our development organization, which would be CDC. Because if we do it and I'm engaged deep, and now I can do it through CDC because I'm the committee guy and I sign a non-disclosure, but most companies don't want what they're up to public until they're doing it, So, and that makes obvious sense, but, anyway, the one that we had this week was the site selection stuff, and absolutely amazing. There probably is hundreds of these companies across the world that work together, and they've got communities ranked for when a company comes to talk to them, because they'll call these people and say, listen, we're wanting to build a new shoe plant. And we're looking for a place I'm just throwing that out there, but we're wanting to build something in America to build shoes. And we're looking for this. They've actually got a list of what the best counties are to suit them. And the ones that are certified counties, those are the ones that are highest on the list, because they've been actually checked over and all this stuff. So the site selection, we've got a little bit of work to do there. Like I said, because we got the schooling and all that, we're not as far away as you'd think, but we got work to do. I've also had one that, like I said, the first one was was, selling your county. That was a good one. But it was kind of going over the same things. These are kind of redundant, but I think that's just to kind of milk it into your head. What you need to have when you go talk to people. I don't know that going to this, I'll have a ton to sell the first time we go there, but I'll have a hell of a lot better understanding of what's going on there.
Ty, do they ever mention the poverty rates of counties and if that's a detriment?
That would be in this, well,
Or
no,
not
it
a
ain't a detriment really. Cause you gotta look at what they're looking for a workforce, and if we have the ability to train them, you see, so, that, it just depends on what the companies, obviously, if you're looking to build one of the microchip companies here, a poverty stricken community probably doesn't have a lot of people that are educated in building those types of things or computer stuff. So, I mean, I don't know what all they do in there. Maybe it's just
Right.
putting a chip in a spot and going on, anybody can learn that, but, I mean, it's gonna depend on what somebody's looking for. I'll use an example of a place that I've delivered to out of Houston. There's a dog food facility and they build dog food and it's down in Sabetha. And, the company is actually from Norway and they ship, well, it's kind of a bean thing that they ship over here that gets put into the dog food. I probably 5 or 6 times brought loads of that up there and them kind of companies looking to move in. They had made dog food over there for years, but they'd found a niche market here. And I actually know an attorney that's her thing is markets and acquisitions for dog food companies. And lately I've been hauling a lot of these meat bricks down in the Dodge City and Amarillo area that come back up here. Smithfield's got a facility in Orange City I knew nothing about. I mean, that's what they do, dog foods or pet foods, and, so it's interesting what you're finding out there. And that's probably what I'm really enjoying about some of this trucking that we've been doing with this reefer. I'm seeing what kind of little businesses come into these communities, and what we might want to target, that might blend well with who we've already got here. Because that's one of the things that the Bretons actually push really hard is make sure your first priority is always to promote and grow the ones you already have. And if they're real successful, these other companies see that, and if they've got great community support, they see that. And that's also probably one of the biggest sales points, that if they get great community support for the businesses that are already located there, so I mean, there's these little webinars have been outstanding. I mean, I'm drinking fire hoses out of the fire hose just for those, to be honest with you. I mean,
On that, cause I was just reading through some information online. And I think they said that the poverty rate for Crawford County from 2018 to 2022 was 17%. And we are one of only 8 counties in the state of Iowa that it's above 15%.
Yep.
So that is something that Crawford, if you want to say, we're not unique to it, but it certainly is something that we have to deal with here.
Yeah, and and one of the things when I first came on, I remember Evan, because I was really, why didn't we go after the Costco chicken plant? Because we'd lost Tyson, all those things, as the big type, the full production plant, we'd lost Tyson. So I couldn't understand why we didn't go after it. He said it was gonna require too many employees and we were gonna kill our other plants. I said, well, that wasn't how you did it. And I mean, we can go into a long hashed out story about how I think for biosecurity reasons and a lot of other, why that would have been a good fit for us and it wouldn't have been detrimental to the other plants. But, I think if them other plants, if you're working with them, they'll know what's coming. And, if it isn't stealing a lot of business now, obviously a chicken plant in Smithfield would probably are gonna be competitors, So I mean, Smithfield may not have been crazy about it, but Monogram, they make bacon, and their other plant that makes other meat products, but so they might have been all right with it, but that's why you gotta always have a pulse and be talking more, and actually I had stopped and visited with Paul, and him and I have been talking about a lot of these things, and he's really on top of some of this stuff.
So if you've been on the CDC board, does the CDC head, does he talk with Smithfield and are some of the?
Yeah, actually, do more of that going forward is a lot of what he wants to be doing, is keep getting their pulse on what they're up to and what they might want to, cause let's face it, I'd rather see an expansion to Smithfield than have to drag somebody brand new in. because we already know what we got there. We've got a company that's been here since 1959. Well, not the same company, but the Evolution since 1959. So they're a long-term stay. So to help them actually makes the most sense. They've been a good community supporter over the years, you know, and here's what tells me a lot about Smithfield is they realize this. So they're supporting things, you know, like, you know, when we do the Tri-City thing, you know, they do the main stage or whatever they're doing, you know, I mean, they obviously take turns with Monogram doing different things, but they're supporting these community events that'll actually keep a good workforce here, keep a happy workforce here, you know, and help us develop. And I actually asked the question, this was the question I asked. I said, here's our biggest struggle. And obviously the first answer out came back was everybody's having that same identical struggle. We don't have the housing is what we always hear. We don't have housing, so we can't go out and get a new company. And he said, if you want to use the chicken and the egg balance, the chicken is your industry and the egg is your housing. If you don't have the chicken, you have no need for the eggs. You know, you aren't gonna get them. But if you have a new industry come in, or you have a large expansion in one of the other ones that we already have here, what, you know, even Andersons or Petersons or anybody, a large expansion, you know, it'd be something to be excited about, and CDC and the rest of the community's out selling this and it's getting everybody excited. People start moving here, people will come to work. I mean, we drive to Omaha, people in our community drive to Omaha. So, I mean, people will drive for a good job and developers will see that. These people need homes, a place for me to make money, and everything starts showing up. You know, and there's some things we haven't exploited, like with Region 12, some of these dilapidated houses and communities can be fixed up. You know, we've got, well, I know over in Charter Oak, I can speak for sure, we've got empty lots, you know, and they'll give them away. You know, I mean, just things like that we could be doing. So there's things that are doable out there. You know, that's why I don't think you go out and you look for a car manufacturer to move in. You go out and look for that anywhere from a 250 to a 750. And that's kind of what they're telling me on this. So, I mean, I've been learning a lot about what we could be or should be doing, you know, and then just, you know, we got to gauge our community's excitement about something like this too. But I mean, I think everybody wants some growth because it helps share the tax load, you know.
David has a question.
Part of that too, what you talk about with the derelict homes and the remodeling projects that Region 12 does, and like Kyle 9 years ago sat in on that derelict building seminar. You still have to have community involvement.
That's right.
You know, you have to, and I'm gonna use Manila as an example. You know, they have to be up at the trough, willing to participate and reach out to Region 12 to do that, and all the communities within Crawford. So if you got, like you said, you gotta get community engagement and get them.
You know, and I think like through just to basically dovetail off that, you know, we've watched through just our new assessor, all these new mayors that seem to be pretty excited about their communities. Maybe now is a time to help CDC push, you know, get Region 12, get Chris to reach out to CDC and get our new League of Cities thing started again here in Crawford County. That might be something that's real positive I mean, there's these new mayors, they may not realize some of these programs exist. Now, some of them may already be involved in that. I don't know, you know, but you
Our
can
job
make
is to
sure.
help connect the dots.
There you go.
Our
That's
job is
exactly
to
right.
Connect the dots. Absolutely. Craig does have one thing he wants to add if you.
So, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
I just wanted to make it, I guess, everybody aware. But last Tuesday, when I had our 28E with the Children's Imagination Station meeting, that the Kim Larson has resigned. So I didn't know if you guys were aware of that,
Oh,
but she resigned effective immediately. And so they are looking for someone. So if you know of anyone in that field, certainly I guess Sarah here is actually on the Children's Imagination Station board. So they're the ones that are in the process of hiring that person. So
and then
Sarah, I know would
steps
appreciate
in.
it if you do know of someone that you think would be interested, let her.
She steps in to help then and kind of is the acting, and really,
She did a lot when we were still on
She
that
did.
thing. Yeah, she did a lot to keep
she
that
was
thing
our acting
operating.
when we were.
Okay.
so, yeah.
She's a good member of that
That's
board.
unfortunate,
Yeah.
because, and I think they do struggle. I know that they've recently raised their tuition, and it's really had some people have to rethink how they do childcare because it's very expensive to, but to pay the bills, that's kind of, because you've got to have that qualified employee, and without that, you have to pay them decent. There's not a lot of benefits. which is the other part I think that they struggle with, so.
And that goes back to what you were talking about, our 17% poverty rate, you know, these people that need something like that most are the people that can afford it.
That is correct. That is
A
correct.
study has come out recently, can't remember which study, who did it, but basically the nuts and bolts of it is that for a family or parents, childcare has passed college tuition and school and driving and all the other things as number one expense for raising a child.
I recently heard that, people that are expecting, have started to already pay for the daycare to ensure they have a spot when that child is
Oh,
delivered.
really?
Yeah, I just heard that
To
from,
pay for daycare without a kid.
right, just to make sure that when
They got a
spots
spot
come
when they come.
available,
I think you get into the urban areas,
Yeah,
really
that's
bad.
where it's at, yeah, yeah, but that still is a trickle down, you know, what's going on, if you, cause you can't go back to work if you don't have qualified daycare, and if you can't go back to work, there goes our workforce, and so it all works hand in hand to make.
Vicious circle.
And that's, you know, when we originally, decided to build that imagination station, I happened to be on the Denison City Council, and, there were people that weren't excited about it because they had home daycares, but I, as one who worked downtown and had employees that struggled, they would call at 7 o'clock in the morning, say, my babysitter just called and they're not gonna babysit today because they're gonna go to Omaha shopping. And there was no, you know, what do you do then at 7 o'clock in the morning? So she was gonna take a sick day because she didn't have a babysitter, and it was tending to be a real
You know,
problem.
it just, and it's been an ongoing issue. I mean, it's kind of, I don't want to say comical, but when you bring those issues up and reading back in past minutes is that, I mean, the kitty campus.
Yep.
I remember
Yes.
reading that
Yes.
Richard Knowles was up here at the Board of Supervisor meeting requesting like $5,000, $10,000
Yes.
to go to kitty campus because we need to have daycare in this community. And I can also remember reading about Region 12 and them supplying loans to revitalize. I think they identified up to 40 homes in the county that needed to either be tore down or revitalized. And they got, I think it was $350,000, I think, from Region 12 to disperse out that people could borrow the money at a very low interest rate and refurbish or redo their home, repair it. So it's been a issue that hasn't been solved.
Yeah.
We haven't fixed it.
Mr. Knowles was one that sat in the front row and had some problems with the imagination station, because he did have kitty campus, so yeah, that's a memory I just had.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, thank you. Everybody had a good update today, and we're just right on time. We could do the Cecil Bloom thing, and you could take a break if you wanted to for 2.5 minutes. Or how you
So
think-
Cecil used to do is take breaks.
I believe so. Is that?
Oh, yeah, we'd have 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you'd be done at 9:30 and we were waiting for Paul.
I wasn't on the board yet.
We can always jump ahead. We can always jump.
Oh, the good
we
old
don't
days.
have much time now, but we can always jump ahead to
We
the other
can, because those are some
Okay.
changes that we made since we've been doing this, that
Probably
But
need
he's
to-
gonna be here.
yep, to do the waiting, I did, I called Paul this morning because that new road that they did over there, 290th between P and Q, it was just beautiful. And I just happened to go with Jerry when he was taking his little drive, and, it's all eroded, just the ditches, and they did it when it was dry, and now we've had 7 inches of rain, but it was so pretty, and now it's just really, so it's a level B road, and, you know, they'll get to it when they get to it, do a little seeding, but, it's not that. pretty.
Lot of washing.
Lot of washing. Yeah, well, and since we do have a few minutes, you know, I live just right up there and down Reed Road, and it was raining and the wind, and I called my son-in-law in town, and I'm like, are the sirens going off in town? I mean, there's no siren out where I live, and he's like, yeah. So then he sent me the notice that said we're supposed to head to the basement, and it was just whipping up there, but it passed pretty fast, so.
Craig, I was like you, I slept.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no. I actually.
Oh, yeah, it looks kind of,
Well, and it's.
It's interesting, you bring it up. Our storm notifications to our comm center come out of Des Moines. They don't come out of Valley, Nebraska or Sioux Falls, South Dakota, so Crawford County is on the leading edge of the weather at the Des Moines Weather Station.
Okay,
The end is coming.
It's a bad problem.
And we've talked about this in the past,
their satellite or their radar don't even see western Crawford County.
Really?
Because the curvature of their radars, they don't see a storm till it hits probably somewhere between Charter Oak and Denison.
Really?
Been fighting it for years, actually got in a little spat on Facebook. The National Weather Service out of Des Moines the night of the tornadoes. I mean, everybody around us was in a warning. It all stopped at the county line. And so until they get that notification to our dispatchers have to react, recognize, and turn sirens on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're behind the eight
We're
ball.
behind the eight ball. Crawford County is historically behind the eight ball when severe weather comes. So it's been a common practice as long as I've been on the fire departments, which I'm no longer, but the volunteers would sit there and watch other weather sources to keep the public as safe as they can. So,
Well, I know when the sirens went off last night, I actually looked at the weather bug that I got and it's got the little time bar on there and it shows it moving across and heck, it was already past us when the
Right.
sirens.
yeah.
that's unfortunate. That is.
So the other aspect of it, last night, they're going off in Charter Oak. I think they're going on countywide.
Yeah.
So there's nothing to be alarmed about in Charter Oak. Now, in the Manila area, again, they needed them.
Yeah,
But that's something that could be addressed, but there's a pretty high dollar amount that goes with that to individualize them sirens. So
Is that state or federally dictated?
what's that?
Where that we're out of Des Moines and not Omaha?
I never got a good answer. I think 30 years ago, we used to get it out of Valley, Nebraska, and I don't know why Crawford County had like protruded into that. Harrison, Shelby, Monona are all out of Valley, Ida, and them are out of Sioux Falls, and we're stuck in the middle.
it's unfortunate. We were just talking, Paul, about our sirens. I heard them
Mhm.
going off in town, just vaguely, very, very vaguely.
I could hear them loud and clear at our house.
Well, so, yeah,
My wife said, get to the basement. I said, well, I want to take a look out. and see
I
what's going
know.
on."
I,
You're from Iowa. Tornado sirens, everybody to the porch.
Well, we can hear it out there,
Yeah.
and you know, I mean,
on the roof.
3/4 mile or so.
See,
A lot of it depends on which way the wind's blowing.
It does.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was windy,
Yeah,
you know, of course,
Blowing like this.
But honestly,
So,
that's the first time
in the basement.
in all the years we've been out here that I could hear those sirens.
really?
Yeah, I mean, we don't normally hear them out there, so I don't know if something had changed or what, but I mean,
Did they put in, that day,
Or we're just not
Chief
around.
Shelgren was in here, weren't they putting a new one in that area?
Yep.
They
Yeah.
wanted to put it in,
They
they're
wanted.
going
I
to,
don't know.
they're going to, but I think,
yeah.
I mean, I can always hear it fine in my house.
Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah, so I mean, it
Put
was,
one out there.
Yeah, he wanted to put it like
Mhm.
3 others, I think. I
yeah,
remember
Yeah.
what he
Yellow
said.
Smoke is one that is going
One
on,
for
so.
sure. I mean.
yeah, I think
Three is
Yellowstone
what I
County's really
usually.
improved it.
Talking
I
about how
suspect out
to
by
get the
Gene,
word out when
maybe
there's
one.
something really coming that,
Mhm.
I could hear it vaguely in
We
town,
know-
just vaguely.
There last week, or 2 weeks ago, or about a week and a half, I guess, that Friday evening, when it hit, I mean, boy, my watch and my phone were just going off.
You're watching.
You know, I mean, you were notified that way. I don't know how they
Yeah,
know.
I did get one on my phone
You know,
last night. Was
Depends on what you got downloaded for apps, I think.
I think that's right too.
Is that right? Yeah, cause boy, it just, and everybody, I mean, all of a sudden phones, you know, kind of like an Amber Alert type thing.
Yeah.
But everything was going off and it was, you know, tornado warning, you know, and so there are a lot of really neat ways to be notified. And they used to have those no weather radios that you could have that
Yeah.
kind of did the same thing, I think, but,
Yeah, last night I got notified, cause I'm a weather bug app.
mhm.
I got notified of the tornado down there in Oklahoma, out there by Bartlesville.
Yeah,
Give you a warning.
you travel,
Give you a warning, yeah.
you travel in that
I
area.
travel in that
Yeah,
area,
yeah.
so I got some of them towns
Yeah.
down that way downloaded onto my app.
Yeah.
So it told me to
Yeah,
take shelter.
Yeah.
I think we're done. It's pretty left.
Yeah, I'm going, left town. But it's nice to have that siren, you know, I think it's really nice, you know, a lot of people don't maybe have any other technology and
I
that's
think
all
our
they have.
elderly
Yeah.
population that probably hasn't adapted to this technology as much as, I mean,
Yeah.
it's still their only real
That's right.
source.
that is definitely something.
Yeah,
to
Their
think about.
siren.
Yeah, you don't have a,
So if you give it even a 10-minute delay, like I said, it's already passed.
Yeah.
And it takes them a while to get to the basement. I can only imagine my mom and dad trying to struggle to get to the basement.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if it
I
happens.
remember having this conversation with you before, because the Charter Oak work almost, if it wasn't for us out spotting, most of the time it'd be gone before we knew where it was.
The volunteers recognizing the problem, not waiting for
Yep.
the National Weather Service to let you know there's a problem headed their way.
Yep.
Storm
I remember
spotters
that.
out. Yeah. So,
That's been years ago.
that seems to be relevant to what's going on today is, warning of bad weather.
Yep.
All right, Paul, what do you have
Okay,
today?
well, a few things here. On the project front, nothing new on the box culvert, shaft. There's a lot of activity going on there yesterday. We're doing some underground drainage and, you know, I think that's gonna be really nice when it's all done. Kinda excited to get that one.
Is that a drain that's in the middle?
Floor drain. Yeah, same thing we did in Schleswig. We have them down here. They work really, really well. So. And then we were connecting all that outside to our entrance culvert and got a little box there with a grate. So all the surface water, when we get all that thing paved and everything will go into that grate instead of running over the edge of the concrete. So it'll be nice. We're gonna have that one done.
It's a good idea.
Yeah,
Do they have any idea when, it'll be up and ready to run?
4th of July.
Fourth of
We're down
July.
there with some fireworks. and
Fun.
open it up. But I mean, that's what the date is, but you know, I don't think we're gonna do the concrete till later on. In fact, Adam's supposed to be giving me a price. I got 10 points supposed to be giving me a
Okay.
price, but that's probably we'll get the grout or the rock in there and get that grade kind of
Yep.
firmed up, and then we'll come in the fall and cut everything out and put a new concrete slab in there. So that's when it'll be done. So when we have our little Christmas, you know, we always, kind of the tradition, we build a new shop, we have the Christmas
Yep.
Yeah.
safety luncheon / meeting at the new shop. So that's where we'll try to have that in December. So, yeah,
Cool.
should be nice. Hungry Canyons, this is the paperwork catching up with the project. Project's been done for about a month now.
Okay.
We got approved by the scoring committee, but John came up to look at it to approve it for payment. And he bought the agreements up that need to be signed that say that we get officially approved of funding. So we get about $36,000 on that. So you'll need action.
Motion to approve. Item number 4, Hunger Canyon.
All right,
Second.
get that. Motion second. Any further discussion? Now I'll call the vote. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Chair votes aye. Motion has been approved.
Nice job, Paul, and utilizing
Yeah.
Hunger Canyons, because I mean,
Yeah,
we didn't, seems like Crawford County does better than in any other county.
we
in the
have.
area.
We've got more than anybody else.
You've noticed that, yeah.
So I'm working on 2 other ones. One is the one over at Vale. I had John, when he was up, we went and looked at that. So we're gonna get some basic survey and get an application for that. The other one is over by, you know where Les Biker used to live? It's just, you shoot off L51 or, Highway 141 to west, south.
90th Street.
So anyhow, I remember going out there with Neil and looking at 07, 08, and we had all that flooding and that thing was sloughing off, and it's just this, you pull on the outlet side, and you look on the upstream side, and you got this canyon up there. And anyhow, there's like a 3x4 box culvert, 20 feet deep. And so, because that's what the stream channel was at when they built the road, it just begs to be a grade control structure with a dam. I mean, basically the road would be a dam, so we come in and we put a riser on the inlet and so I was out with Larry and Barry Bucker yesterday looking at it, trying to figure out what long-term
Does
solution.
anybody live there now?
But, you know, I don't know if he does or not.
Okay.
But, you know, this is kind of what it looks like now, you know, it's kind of, you know, the slopes are just sloughing off. So what we would do is come in here and we do this. This, come down here, do this. Put a riser here. And we come down here somehow. Down there, something. Basically, over there.
So do you know how much how large you have to build that tube and riser?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
by
we
the
do all that
volume of
analysis.
water?
Yeah, we do all the analysis on
Okay.
that and decide how big this has to be. But that would be a great solution for that. And it would help the upstream landowner quite a bit, because They have a pond there basically, and so it sounds like they're agreeable to it. We have to get them to sign up, but this would be a great Winter Canyons project too.
That would.
So, yeah, you
I
know,
remember we've done a couple of them in the past, use the road or.
As a dam, yeah.
Over.
Yeah.
Vale.
And so, to fix this, you either have to flatten the slope out, or, we'd probably come in here too and put some garbage. We'd come in and we'd put, some trench drainage, some drainage, so it's you're raising this level up, so this picks up this water and then gives it water. You build these drainage systems around the side, safely get that water out of there, so that this will all be stable.
That'd be a good project.
Be a good project.
How long do you think a project like that would take, start to completion?
Our guys could do that in probably about 4 weeks. So, yeah, so, that's the really nice thing about, like, what we've been doing with Hunger Canyons is our guys are able to do it, so, we're getting reimbursed for hard work. Yeah, we get 80% of that paid for. Well, it's, some of the roadway portion of it wouldn't probably be eligible, but the grade control portion of it is all eligible. So,
When we have
be another good Hunger Canyons project.
when we have a body of water that close, do we have to put a guardrail or anything up on the roads?
Well, we'll have the berm there, and then, no, to answer your question, no,
I was just
we don't normally do that. That'd probably be a 3-to-1 slope, flat enough slope of the vehicles, it's probably not gonna, tip over, but, and then they'll hit the berm. And there's a possibility somebody could end up in the pond, I mean, I'm not
Oh,
saying
that's the only
they
reason
can't,
I
but, we've got a number of those out there, and it's never been an issue, so.
Sounds straight, but.
Yeah, and I said, the only way we do this, 2 things. We're not buying any right away. They're gonna give us permission to do it, and they're gonna give us the dirt to build it.
Same landowner on both sides.
It's Larry's mother on the east side, and I think Janice and Terry was kind of there representing her. I think it's Janice Byford, and he said there won't be any problem, so.
My dad lives west of there, where that pond is, that was done in 1962, that used to be a bridge there.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
they did it, so it's been something that, they've been doing for a long time.
And serves you well. Yeah. Yeah, the watershed program actually started in the 50s, and was intended to kind of heal up some of these gullies that had been formed because of, we were plowing everything, and there weren't a lot of terraces back then. And so there was a lot of erosion that took place. And so that watershed program was created to kind of keep some of that in check.
Are you
So-
saying that a lot of the Mississippi Delta came from Iowa?
Yeah, well, the loess soils are highly erosive and, so anyhow, yeah. Everything kind of goes in ebbs and tides, conservation measures are maybe not. Maybe more important if we keep getting rain. So, if you didn't even get a chance for the area, and it was called down there early this morning, and so, but yeah, I have no dog in that fight, but there's a lot of
The city.
water coming down into the town and,
Oh,
yeah. So,
The springs are open in that part.
call in RCS.
Yeah.
That's, that's right.
That's unfortunate.
So, yeah.
Mhm.
Anyhow, I talked to you about, our level B roads, some of them don't look the greatest, especially the ones we graded. I mean, we graded that and that was really dry soil. Last 3 or 4 years in particular, and so we're gonna have some repair work.
Yeah.
And,
I've been looking at
that's, you either stop until conditions allow, or you keep going and you deal with what we're dealing with right now, which is now we've had about 6 or 7 inches of rain in the last 2 weeks. And so, especially in those steeper, deep lush soils, they're highly erosive. That's what we're building it out of. We'll fix them up. It's pretty typical of what we'd see after heavy rain events. Nothing unusual here.
That's what we do.
That's what we have to do. Just go fix it back up. So.
Yep.
The asphalt project in Vale should be completed. They ran 1 truck short yesterday. But they had it done. And the city's doing a little on their own now, and they're so excited. If you get a chance, you know, it isn't like a brand new street where you got, you know, this neat line and grade, but it sure is a lot better than it was. Okay, you know, and it turned out really nice, I think. It's, it'll last a long
I
time.
think we had a good meeting with them.
Yeah.
And just.
Yeah, they're excited.
Yeah.
John wants to do the whole town now.
Sure.
You know, I said, we're gonna do the whole town this way, you know, and
All
so it did, it worked out well.
It's fun to see
Um,
that.
Yeah.
It is nice.
Good news Tuesday.
Yeah.
Back on
And
track.
then we, you know, it's a beautiful sunny day. It's gotta be good, right? Seal coat work, you know, we don't have a lot. There's just one block in Dow City I wanna do on those blocks that we took over here a couple years ago. Ricketts, we're gonna do the east side, east parking, and I talked to Pam. She understood it. It just didn't justify or warrant spending that extra money on that west side. So, for a one day event. So we'll clean up any chunks or whatever, and that's what we got. So, and then we got, Boyer. A little bit of stuff there at Boyer, so.
Hand that to that young lady across the table.
Oh, goodness.
All righty, well, thank you very much.
Happened a trip.
Appreciate it.
Was that due March 1st?
Yeah, it's a little late. Drive these roads up, would you?
I deserve that. Thanks, Kurt.
Hey, I'll see to it that it gets,
About being hard. Not hard.
I'll see to it gets to the right place. Thank you.
Yeah.
You got
But anyhow, and then the dust control, which, we got, 110 locations, 5 applicators, so.
Wow.
A little bit of a coordination effort. trying
Is
to-
that typical, 110, or is that?
Yeah, oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we get a lot of them, so.
So it seems
Usually
like
it's
a lot.
actually
That's good.
more than that sometimes, so, but yeah, you know, this is what I really didn't want to have happen, to try to coordinate 5 different applicators.
I know.
Get the right, you know, the best time to spray, okay, is right after the motor grader left. And so it's hard to coordinate that.
Yeah.
When you got all these different locations, you gotta get ready and then hope that it stays okay until they get there to spray it.
Is there one of the 5 companies that is more,
Not
that
gonna
they
go there.
use more, or is
I'll go
it?
there.
I can't talk about that.
Okay.
Same question I
Percentage wise,
had.
though, do you even know if XYZ company has got?
There's one that's got
80%
more,
of
there's
them?
one that's got more than the others,
Oh.
yeah, but I'm not gonna speak.
There we go.
Or anything, if you wanna come down and take a look, you're welcome to, so.
It is what it is. We put it
Yeah.
out there for the public to choose. and-
They're on our webpage.
Yeah,
I
right.
know people have asked, we said, go to our webpage, you can assess it yourself and decide who you want to do it. So,
Pretty much.
I mean, it's worked out. It's just frustrating for our blade operators to, you know, green flags, red flags, yellow flags, you know, orange flags,
Wow.
you know.
As long as Terry Lally ain't an operator, it should be.
That's right, yeah.
Everybody should be able to see what they're
There you go. Okay.
They're all great.
The last item, and I didn't have it on here, there's been a couple of calls about a developer wanting to put a sanitary sewer across the Yellow Smoke Park Road, okay? And I've requested that it be put through a metal casing, it's a gravity sanitary sewer. The only other option, in my opinion, is an open cut. Okay, an open cut tears the road up. You dig and you put it in.
Mhm.
I think, and Terry Crawford has told me that there's gas, fiber, telephone, a lot of utilities that would have to be worked around in order to get it in. And I understand there's concerns about the metal casing, but I talked to.
What kind of concerns?
Cost. They don't want to have to do it. But anyhow, I talked to, and I mean, I'll be honest, you know, there's only, you know, very, very rarely do we have a sanitary sewer main crossing a paved road, okay? So I talked to this Dave Carney, who I know, he was Public Works Director up in Sioux City for a number of years. He now takes care of SUDAS, which is a statewide urban design specifications. And I asked him, I said, Dave, I said, you know, what's the protocol? What's the standard here? He said, well, open cut is the preferred method. But if you don't want that, you know, and I think there's you guys tell me, Paul, open cut, let's tear up that 7-year-old pavement, go into the park and put a patch in it. I mean, you know, and then he's got to work around the gas and fiber and hope that it all gets done in a timely manner. You got to detour all the traffic. You got to make sure that it's done and it doesn't damage it, you know, that it's the compaction. has to be 95% what we call standard proctor. I mean, there's a whole lot of things that come into play there. Or do we just say, hey, put a metal casing underneath there, board under there, slide your gravity sewer main through there and move on. Now we protected our.
Dollar to dollar. Some concern about the excess cost of this line.
You are, he is.
No, I'm just in the
Yeah.
grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
But if you was to pay for the detours, the flaggers, all that other, I mean, it's almost gotta be a dollar for dollar match, don't it, I would think?
Well, and you know, the inconvenience of the traveling public,
Right.
the concern of, you know, what if you get it open? And something happens, you don't get it back and you get 5 inches of rain that
Yeah.
night. I mean, there's just a lot of things that come into play.
No,
From a public steward of the road, from a steward, you know, I'm the caretaker of the roadway, okay, and I have to be, you know, the steward of that. This is the least inconvenient to the traveling public, okay? And it will result in us having a roadway that's protected into the future. And so that's the only other option according to, Dave Carter. Really practical.
I mean,
I was just,
you never get that highway back to normal.
It's never the same, yeah, and we have, in my tenure, I've never allowed an open cut on a paved road for any utility. Always poured. Always. And I just think this would really be a bad one because of all the traffic going to the park. And because of the utilities, you know, and you get in there and you have utility conflicts, the project gets held up and, you know, there's just all kinds of bad things that can happen. I realize it's probably expensive, but that really, I mean, from the greater good of the public is not really necessarily our concern. I'm just looking out for the road.
Appreciate
So
it.
I'll pass that on
Appreciate it.
and I'm gonna stand my ground. That's where we need to be. If I'm gonna issue
I
the
agree.
permit,
I agree.
if I'm gonna issue the permit, that's the way it's gonna be.
Kyle, you have something?
I wasn't trying to be argumentative, I was
Yeah.
just trying to do
Yeah.
an analysis of.
Right.
It'd be much more expensive to
Yeah.
do an open cut or do a bore, and then you don't have all the what ifs if you
Yeah.
bore.
Well, I think, you know, that too, but you also have to take into account the inconvenience of the public.
Right.
Right.
You know, now, this is a paved roadway out in the middle of nowhere. I shouldn't say that because there is really no place that's in the middle of nowhere, Crawford County. But this is just a busy road. There's a tremendous amount of traffic on
Especially
this.
this time of year.
They advertise it as.
Well,
that.
they
say they're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's a busy road.
Right.
Yeah, it does have a lot of traffic. I use it a lot.
Yeah. So
I see.
that's kind of where, that's my thought process. So if there's any more, if you get a phone call, yeah.
We just
That's
bring
where
it
I'm at.
forward to you and,
Yeah.
go from there, so.
Yeah, so,
Sometimes we're just the messenger.
no, I understand, but I just wanted to kind of clear the air as to
To help the develop.
why I'm doing what I'm
I
doing.
mean,
Appreciate
even if it's a
it.
low entrance loan.
You wanna look at that bridge out there down there?
Pardon?
You got time to look at that bridge?
Yeah, we'll run out and take a look at it. Yeah, if you got more time, we'll run over to Vail and see what it takes.
Right.
But you know.
I think it turned out pretty good. I really, you know,
To be afforded, you know.
sometimes these towns
In the
can't
future,
afford to
you know, this
go
road.
to all that detail, that, you know, tear everything back up. And it's not a very, you know, it's not a terribly expensive option. And I think this kind of showed them that, you know, this may not be a bad option moving forward for you. Now, the key here is two things. They have to be, you know, somebody willing to do it here in the area. And this just happened to be Rhodes. It's working on Highway 39. You know, and they have to be willing to do it. I guess they have to be in the area and willing to do it.
How is 39 coming?
Not that late.
They're working on the shoulder material. They were coming down the east side. Last time I was up there, last week, they were by Sykes, in that Sykes Corner area, kind of coming around there. That would have been like last Wednesday, but then it had rained, so I think they're probably coming. They might be in the Kyron area, but see, they have to take it all out with an excavator. You know, it's not like you're just milling and you got this continuous operation. You have to take it, it's that
Time
deep, it's that deep, it's very time consuming, and all that material has to be hauled off. And unfortunately, we're not getting any of it because they bladed the rock off. They're just kind of blading that off and letting it lay there. Then they're digging the soil out and then they're bringing that rock back on. So I was really kind of hoping we might get some of that if they could have milled it, but it didn't work out.
Done it. All right.
Damn.
Okay.
Thanks, Kate.
Thank
You
you,
bet.
Paul. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
He's always looking for that angle.
All righty.
Working
Then,
cheap
I
stuff.
see you're here and right on time, like I told you, so come on
I
up.
was worried, I was not expecting all that road
Oh, sure.
issues.
Yes, absolutely. Well, you were just perfectly on time.
Perfect.
Thank you for coming today to give us a little update on what's going on in Crawford County with our mental health as our advocate and advisor. So what do you got going on?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. So it's Mental Health Awareness Month. So we've been doing some fun extra things for that. But as for some of the local things going on, so our region recently gave Wesco some dollars to host a couple of things. One of them, I'm not sure if you guys heard, was Kevin Hines. He came and presented at the Donna Reed Theater just a couple weeks ago. Kevin's a suicide survivor. I kind of wrote this down to remember all the stuff, but he talks about his experience and really has become an advocate for hope and healing and recovery. And he does these public presentations. He's a best-selling author, a global public speaker, award-winning documentary filmmaker. So it was really cool to be able to bring him locally. And Wesco opened that up into the public. So they had over 90 attendees. A ton of their staff went, clients. I saw Job Corps people come, community members, nurses, social workers. It was open to anybody. So it was a really good turnout, wonderful presentation, and that was really neat to have him come. And then we also gave them some money to host a de-escalation training. So they put, again, I think around 90 of their staff members through this de-escalation training to be able to talk down somebody in crisis and better serve their individuals. So that was a very valuable training, and there was a lot of positive feedback from that. I think that might have been last week or the week before. And then Plains Area Mental Health Center, the one here in Denison, over by the Anytime Fitness across from McDonald's, they've been hosting trainings as well. They've been doing the mental health first aid for youth trainings, critical incident stress management. So that's for anybody in the community that has, you know, a crisis situation that they need debriefed in that incident, kind of go through it and talk through it, what they could have done better, work on strategies, that kind of thing. So Plains area continues to do multiple trainings like that locally. Local agencies can sign up for things like that, as well as anybody off the streets and community members, professionals, whatever that may look like. And I talked to Jean a little bit about this. She had gone on the radio, but we are continuing to grow our focus around our mental health crisis services. I know we've talked about that before. I always take the data and kind of just pull only Crawford County to give you guys an idea of usage of just our local people going there. So we had in the Sac City place, we had 8 referrals from Crawford County go there to the crisis home. And then an additional one went as a result of an MCAT call. And that MCAT, again, is the mobile crisis team that dispatches in lieu of like police or having to call 911. So they went dispatched, met with somebody, and took the person back with them to the crisis home where they got to stay for a few days and work with providers.
Was that the individual that we found that was living under the bridge homeless, or is that a different situation?
I'm not sure. I don't pull the data on who it is. I do get applications on them, which means I do get their demographic information, and then I add them into our system. So anytime someone goes into crisis, they do an app on them. That gets sent to me, and when they go home, I follow up with them and see what resources I can connect them with. I will tell you that the police department, as well as the sheriff's department, has done a really great job in getting me involved in some of those cases. Like that one was referred to me. I've been getting more calls, you know, when they dispatch to somewhere or they have like someone who calls 911 back to back. They will refer that person to me and say, hey, we think there might be something going on here, or we identify that there are some mental health concerns, and they kind of refer back to me, which is a really cool thing to start to see.
Good.
And there's been, I can count several. I mean, one of probably my most, I don't know, severe cases, I mean, actually came from a referral from the sheriff's department over in Dow City. So that was a really good connection, and that was a really big success in that case. And I would have never known about her had, you know, Roger not reached out to me. So that was a really cool one.
It's working.
Yes.
As long as we're talking in that, do you see that we're having less referrals to the jail and the ER, and they're getting to the right places? That used to be kind of one of the problems, that rather than knowing that they're having a mental health episode, they were just taking them, you know, to jail or the ER. Are you feeling they're getting placed better then? Is that kind of what this whole thing is? It's getting to work the way it's supposed to?
Sure. I personally have noticed I am not getting as many calls to the jails. I don't know if it's because there's less of it or I'm just getting less calls because not everybody wants to be seen or wants the help, you know,
Okay,
even if it
okay.
is offered. I have been getting less calls, but I have noticed that there are some people that are coming back.
Okay.
And so I'm seeing more than once,
Okay.
which isn't a good thing either.
Mhm.
But the jailers do a great job of like, hey, so-and-so's back, get in here right away and
Okay.
see them. So I do appreciate that. I haven't gotten a lot of calls from the ER. Unfortunately, I myself have had to take a few to the ER or arrange that just
Okay.
because it was beyond what our crisis services could provide. So
Okay.
we're still, you know, using them when we have to.
Well, you have to.
But we definitely have been able to divert to our subacute unit in Sioux City. That was one of the things I actually had on here that I wanted to talk about with Wesco. So they have the transitional living home stepping stones over in Vale. And I have seen a really, really great partnership. I know we talked about this at Advisory and Governance Board, but they've been working very well with our crisis services. So Stepping Stones and our Access Center in Sioux City have kind of partnered. So when I come across somebody in any of our 10 counties and I'm interested in sending them to Stepping Stones, instead of just sending somebody from their environment straight to Stepping Stones with no treatment, no meds in their system, you know, they're just coming straight from their environment into the program. They're able to go to Sioux City for a week or two. They help them stabilize on medications. They are seen and evaluated and kind of get a little bit of help to stabilize them before they get to Stepping Stones. And that has been a really great thing. And I think it's good for the staff at Stepping Stones because then they know these people are safe and a little bit more stable when they're getting there. So that's been really great. And then it's actually turned into a really cool partnership where they're referring back. So when someone's at Stepping Stones and they're having an issue, instead of their staff taking them to the ER or kicking them out of the program, which they wouldn't just do, but if it got to that point, you know, a safety concern where they wouldn't be able to serve them, they'd either have to call the police or take them to the hospital. They're actually sending them to the crisis center. So they're going from Stepping Stones to Sioux City, taking a break, getting back on track, and then able to come back to Stepping Stones. So that's been a really cool thing that I've seen just recently.
How's the state reacting towards stepping stone? I don't mean to interrupt.
No, that's okay.
You're on the subject. How did, I mean, are they moving that up as a priority? I mean, that was one of the big concerns we had when state took over mental health. It's something like stepping stones, which we had seen very beneficial.
Yes.
May not get funded. I mean, do you
Right.
think that's actually gonna stay a?
So transitional living is still not a core service, which means it's not mandatory that it's funded by the state. But I mean, it's definitely high value and we do track the data on it and that is presented to the state. So I mean, I don't know how they could look at a program like that that is so successful and has the outcomes that it does and, you know, not
Yeah.
carry it on when regions go away. I don't know how much you guys pay attention or know because it's well, it's kind of above even my head sometimes,
Yeah.
but things are changing and the regions will be going away July of next year. And so we're the full funder of that. And so the money's going to be going elsewhere for that district to decide how it's dispersed. So I know that is a big concern with us and Wesco both, that they're like, well, what if this new district doesn't want to pay for us?
That was my
They
concern.
just about got the cutting block, about a year or so ago. They were in a desperate situation because
Yes.
it wasn't a core service.
Yep.
And when they were, you know, doing the performance-based evaluations and all that stuff, they weren't funding it. And I
Right.
remember calling a special meeting and it's, might still be on the chopping block.
Right, I know we don't want to lose it and we don't want to see that funding go away, but it is a concern. We don't know.
Absolutely, fight hard for it.
I will. I do. We
I
continue
know you do,
to.
I know you do.
This kind of goes with both those subjects. I guess first of all, let's talk about stepping stones and transitional home. If that's working so well, are you trying to identify other places within our region to build out more stepping stones style transitional living? And with the I know it's hard with the reorg, but I guess my second question was gonna be with the reorg, how is that going? Are you gonna bid for a district yourselves for Rolling Hills? Or have you heard anything from Kelly Garcia for carryover funds and how the transition is gonna look?
It was.
Sure. So the first part, I would love to see more transitional housing, but as she said, I mean, they were kind of on a chopping block already. So I would rather see our funds go into one really great program than try and have multiple and not keep them afloat because I mean, it's expensive and it is an expensive thing. I think it's worth every penny, but I don't know that they're looking at opening extra. I would love to see that myself because it is my most used program. I mean, especially working local here, I utilize it probably the most with my, I mean, I put a lot of people in there and help transition out. So I would love to see it grow, get bigger, have more locations. I don't know how much they've really talked about this or how much I'm supposed to share, but there is that building right next to Stepping Stones that used to be a Hab home, I think.
Yep.
And that's sitting empty. It's owned by the region. And I know Wesco has interest right now in opening that up as a transition from Stepping Stones. So Stepping Stones has 7 beds. They are always full. And right now we have a wait list, I think, of 13 people waiting to get into Stepping Stones. And they do have an 8th emergency bed that they don't keep full all the time, but it really is true for those true emergencies. But it's been steady at 8. So they've had 8 constantly. And I actually had a very, very crisis emergent situation, and they brought an extra bed in and they were serving 9 for a while there. So they're staying very full. So what they would like to do is use that second home. And for those people that don't need the 24-hour supervision, they're ready to move out of Stepping Stones. They're just waiting for housing because that's taking a long time, or income. They need to work a little bit and save up before we can just throw them out to go float. That would be an opportunity for those that don't need
How many beds? is
Stepping
that?
Stones.
Potential.
I'm not sure. I know they're looking at moving maybe 2 or 3 Stepping Stones people there. And then they'd be able to be checked on. They wouldn't have supervision and then go independent. So it's not really another transitional home, but it is potentially something that would,
More cost.
How
Yes.
many of the 7 or the 13 on the waiting list are also substance abuse clients?
I don't know all 13 on the waiting list. I know the ones that I
Or
refer.
typically, you know, yeah,
But I mean, it does go hand in hand often, not all the time. Actually, right now we have a big intellectual disability, mental health co-occurring issue at Stepping Stones, which has been a different challenge for them. It's, you know, Wesco does the intellectual disability services, but when you have it mixed with the mental health, that's definitely another barrier in getting services because they have both. So we see that co-occurring, and then we also see the mental health substance use co-occring. I
guess
don't know
asked
how
with,
many would
like,
have
I'm
it.
on the MRHC board with the substance abuse wing and
Mhm.
at a, you know, Manning Regional. Do you send, so the substance abuse, I mean, if they're on a waiting list, you try to reach out to those facilities to just get people placed in beds and
It depends. I mean, typically if they're on a wait list for transitional living, it's because that type of housing is like what they're needing at that time and maybe not so much the treatment. Cause a lot of times, like if somebody's needing inpatient substance use treatment, they have to do that before they can come to Stepping Stones. So, and because Stepping Stones is funded by the mental health region, mental health has to be their #1 diagnosis. So they can have the substance use, but it can't be like, you know, mental health here, substance use is
so will
here.
that change with going to behavioral health where it's combined?
And it could, cause I mean, then it's not gonna be one or the other. I mean, it's gonna
Right.
put them together.
Right.
So I'm not sure what that will look like.
I do think that is a good move to not, because the questions that they ask, if you're using drugs, you're automatically kicked out. But
Right.
most of the times the drugs are how you try to stabilize and all of those things. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it sounds like you're doing that.
And that's kind of why it's hard to say, like, could we place them somewhere else? Typically, the people that are ready for transitional living are in recovery for their substance use. They're not actively using because they can't be at Stepping Stones if they're actively using. Of course, they're getting treatment while they're there. They're seeing, you know, counseling, or they go to AAs, NAs. They provide all that transportation to keep people getting treatment. But if, at the end of the day, if they choose to use substances, they won't allow them to stay in the program. And then that's when that referral would be made back to some type of substance use program, get clean again and come back. And then what was the second part of
I
your
wanna know about the
question?
reorg. How's that gonna shake out? You said July 1st is when he'll no longer be.
Yes, I should have printed out. So we do have like a PowerPoint that we were given by the state that really clearly shows us a timeline of like, okay, this month, this is what's happening, this month, this is what's supposed to happen, and it's a breakdown of basically what this transition is gonna look like. It's happening in little steps, that kind of thing. It is open for regions to bid. I don't think the RFP's come out yet, so we don't really even know what it's going to be, so you can't really apply for something that you don't know what it is or going to entail quite
Do
yet.
you anticipate our region bidding?
I know there's multiple regions that are interested. I don't know what that's going to look like. I've heard, I'm not really part of that discussion, but I have heard that there are regions that want to go in together. You know, like multiple regions would go together or CEOs would go together and bid for a district. I also know there's some CEOs that might be interested in going for multiple districts or taking the state or whatever that may
Have
be.
you heard of any private entities wanting to bid on these RFPs?
I know it was open to that, and at one point they were Magellan, which was wanting to come in and bid for the whole state, but I think they changed wording in the legislation to not allow that. But I know there are
I
interests,
did talk to Dawn last week, so,
yeah.
yeah, she had a lot to say.
Yeah, she would be
Yeah,
much
yeah,
better at
yeah,
explaining
yeah,
this. Like I
she-
said, I don't get invited to those
Could you email
discussions,
us
but
that PowerPoint?
yeah, absolutely.
Is that the one that looks like the Candyland, board game where she's got it all kind of, some of it's dark blue and the dates and the kind
I'm
of
not
swirls
sure.
around?
We've seen a lot of different visuals,
yeah.
and as more information comes out, we get new ones, and so I do kind of keep a folder on my computer and look how things are changing and what is
Last one I saw
happening.
looked like a Candyland game
Yeah.
board.
And they haven't even really set in stone, been like, okay, this is the date we're gonna choose who this is going to be, this is the date. I mean, that keeps fluctuating too, so we don't know.
Even.
Well, how's that gonna work though, if they don't get that nailed down and July 1st, you're done? Is
Right,
everybody out of a job?
I mean, potentially, yes, my job will end, I will have to get a new job, and so that's a concern right now, and in my personal opinion, I mean, this is just my opinion. I think that they're kind of waiting to give lots of information because they don't want people jumping ship and going and finding something different, because once it is nailed down, then will know, okay, well, I'm not gonna have a job, I'm gonna go find something else.
Before they're ready to replace your job.
Right,
And that was Dawn's concern too with the CEOs, you know, they're gonna be going from what, 17 to, you know, well, they're not even sure yet, they don't have the map.
yeah. I think we have like 13 regions and they are wanting, I think it's 7
That's the
districts.
numbers I think.
So like our region right now is 10 counties. The district that we're being put with is 22 or 21 counties, so it's gonna be bigger areas.
Sometimes bigger is not better, but well, that's not a fight we can.
Yes,
Yeah.
so we're just holding on and doing what we can. It's very unknown, it's very uncertain, it's uncomfortable. I mean, a lot of people are asking us these questions. We have a lot of people reaching out. They kind of know regions are going down, so we call it poaching. They're trying to poach us and get us to come work for them, and it's been kind of interesting, but.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, with it being Mental Health Awareness Month, we just thought it was good to come in and have an update. It
Absolutely.
sounds like things are working out the way they're supposed to here in Crawford County, and I'm happy to know our numbers are up in some places and down in others and kind of working the way that they're supposed to, so.
Definitely.
Anybody have any questions?
I just got a
Ask?
comment, with all the recent storms and the amount of damage, has there been any critical incident stress debriefings planned for those people affected by these storms? That's gotta be a mental health challenge for a lot of those people that have lost
Good point,
everything.
Kyle.
Absolutely. I think so I get all of the data at the end of the month, so I don't know until the end of the month when I look back and like, oh, we had an uptick. The critical
Could we be more
stress.
proactive and like maybe just get one out there and start it before to
Sure.
help these people instead of waiting until it.
Like the Harlan and Defiance area, that part of our area.
Even tail end of our
Manila.
county down there, I mean,
Manila.
Manila area, I mean, we got it in our county here, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not sure, I would assume
that
that there's
planetary
extra
type thing?
things. I could check into that. So the critical stress management that they're doing right now, they're training the trainers. So they're teaching people how to do the training. I don't know that the trainings are like open and happening. They went out of the country to get trained in this type of training, and then they're coming back and training like us and providers and therapists and social workers in this debriefing so that we can provide it to our locals.
It'll have
So
to be
I don't
come
know.
around. I mean, oh, you probably done on some of them through the fire department, we've had them, I mean, somebody has to do them.
Well, I would think the schools too, with children that were just, you know, in the basement. afraid for their lives.
Right.
You come out of that, whether you have your roof over your head yet or not, or, you know, the barn is gone and, you know,
Mhm.
that. I know
Fluffy is
things.
not there anymore.
Yep,
Right.
yep, a lot of things that can
Just
affect
even
you.
their security and knowing their safety is, their house is gone, and all their belongings are
Right.
closed.
I think that'd be something that as a mental health area should be looking into.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if they've had it, and they might have already seen that uptick, and
Yep.
I have no idea, I guess. I haven't heard anything on my end, like there's nothing additional or extra that I've been seeing, but I'm hoping that there is. I could definitely check into that and see, because there might be things in motion, I just.
Yeah.
We
don't
always
know.
appreciate any updates you have for us.
Absolutely. I was gonna just give you one more
Oh,
statistic that.
absolutely, sorry. we
So our
interrupted.
crisis center, besides going to the programs, we do have a 24-hour call line. And so that's one thing that I'd be interested in to see if it would have an uptick with all of the extra things going on with the weather and natural disasters. But just, I had pulled the data just from Crawford County. So they had 27 after-hour crisis calls, so that would be weekends and nights that they've responded to in Crawford County, and then there were 5 during work hours.
And that was for a month?
So that would be from January till April, January to April.
And that's that 988 number?
So that would be different than the nine eight
Oh,
eight.
okay.
988 is separate. They
Okay.
can, if someone calls 988, they can transfer them to our local provider so that they have someone local to talk to about
Okay.
those things. But this is just the after hours calls. It's just
Oh,
that little
the
phone
mobile?
number.
Okay.
Yep, and it's just to talk through it. I mean, I was having some of my inmates in the jail call that number just when they needed someone to talk to. You know, they were having maybe mental health symptoms, needed someone to talk to in the middle of the night. It's just a crisis line that's available 24 hours a day. And that crisis line, when they talk to somebody, a lot of referrals come from that. So they're talking to somebody who's maybe calling because they're having increased depression and anxiety. And then they're like, okay, they talk to them on the phone, they talk them through it in that moment. But then they're like, let's follow up tomorrow, come into the clinic and let's get you in for a therapy session, or let's refer you to meet to Kaylin, or let's, you know, get you here, or that's where a lot of the referrals come from, or where I find people that I normally wouldn't cross paths with.
How are they getting that number? You know, especially if you're incarcerated and you're feeling depressed and down.
Mhm.
Do the sheriff give that to them, or do they have to, how do they research and get that number?
So in the jail, I've left
Okay, very
little cards that the
Okay.
jailers have, so they know if someone's, you know, expressing to the jailers that they're having this problem, the jailers are aware of it. Also, when I meet with them, I usually give them a card as well.
Perfect. All right.
And then we've given Plains area money to advertise it, so I know they have like pamphlets, the little cards that I give to the PD and the sheriff's department as well, that they are carrying on their people and they can hand out when they go on calls. We have flyers, pamphlets, they're on the radio, it's on Facebook,
Got it.
lots of different places that
I
number
did
gets
bring
put.
some pamphlets. Jill Wonder was at our Women in Business
Oh, sure.
meeting, and so she brought some pamphlets. I did fill our little cases out there. with
Very
some
good.
Pamphlets with some information, so.
Awesome. And I drop them off with like the dispatchers too, because if someone, you know, is calling 911 and it's not maybe a 911 emergency, but it is a mental health emergency, they can give that number. So
All right,
I try and leave them at those kinds of places.
perfect. All right. Thank you
Anything
so much
else?
for the update.
Yes,
Really
of
appreciate
course.
it. And everybody's got her number if they have questions, so.
Yes, and I'll send you the graphics that I have as far as the timeline and the redesign. And if you wanted to spread them and
I
send
will
them
share
out,
it.
I can do that. And I'll also check in and see if there are any extra things that they're doing and include that in the email as well.
All right.
you.
Thank you
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you guys for taking the time to have me again.
Absolutely. Always love having you. Anytime. All right, up next, we're gonna take the abatements, set things coming up. All right, what do we have?
So the first one, Robert and Megan Rieselman at 3210 370th Street. They have an estimated cost of $550,000. They turned it in, it's dated April 23rd. I went out on April 24th and he did tell me that they had started on the foundation. I didn't see this
Okay.
photo here,
I'm gonna abstain from this one.
All right, that's a good idea.
so
Uh,
they plan on being completed April 25th.
all righty, all right.
April of 25.
And so they've chosen the 100% for 5 years.
It's a 3-year.
Oh, 3 years.
There's not really a choice with the residential, it's just
Not a
3-year.
All right.
But
Have any other questions?
Yeah, that's kind of a gray area there. you know.
yep,
We're
I had
not
mentioned
saying
that you are
it says
supposed
right
to-
on there,
With our policy.
major construction cannot be started prior to.
yeah, just dirt work, basically. It's,
The only thing I remember years past, there was one, but that was, I think they were putting the windows in already when they brought that to us up by Ricketts. So that one was a way further. And at that time, I even went against policy and voted in favor of doing it just to try to continue this
Induce.
induce construction in the county, but just letting everybody know that I don't know if that's major construction or, I mean, it's, I don't know.
that's it.
I'm not against it. I just-
We
The
do the
policy
abatement
states.
policy to encourage growth and building in our county, and so try to do everything to encourage that, so. Everybody satisfied?
Well, that's it. I would make a motion to
Okay.
approve that.
Very
I'll
good.
second Kettlemore.
What's her house? Oh, yeah, that's, yeah, yeah.
All right, we have a motion, a second. Any further discussion on the tax abatement? Okay, all in favor, aye.
All right,
All right.
Any opposed? Same sign. Chair votes aye. We have one abstention, so motion approved is approved. All righty, and next we have,
I know the next one, I drove by it yesterday, there's nothing happening there yet.
Nope.
okay, no picture to be seen.
There-
All right,
I didn't.
is that usually, Seth, what happens is that when someone comes to request this, and then you get the application, do you usually go out the next day and look at the
We
property?
try to pretty soon. I mean, afterwards, we'll ask them kind of when they plan on starting, and if they don't plan on for a while,
From the
we'll try to get out there
assessor's
within a
office,
week
we'll go out there.
and take a photo, yes.
Okay, good,
okay.
good.
All right, well, things are, new building in Crawford County is always good. So what's the total?
The other
value?
one is kind of a unique one also.
Okay.
They're bringing in a used manufactured home and putting it on a basement foundation. They gave me an estimated cost of 85,000. The minimum's 100 of adding of assessed value. I mean, it could potentially be close. So if he did fill out an application, and I would bring
So-
it to the board.
They're putting it on land they currently own.
Yes,
Do you
and
give
it's a
value to
used,
that?
so I don't know, new construction. It's used coming in from out of county.
Their home,
It's
that's not
used.
an addition.
Basement will be new, right?
Yes,
Okay, here we go.
Get into a gray area again.
yeah, this,
I mean,
yes.
you could build a new house out of used lumber. And it would be
Yeah.
considered a new house.
But I think it's new tax for our county.
Yes.
It's something that we didn't have prior that we can tax and bring more revenue.
And yet it don't meet the threshold of estimated
Cost.
Cost, but it
But
could
potentially-
potentially of assessed value, it
Are they putting a
could.
garage on?
It's close. He did not
I mean, if he's
mention.
bringing the house in. So what you're saying is they,
So our policy states that it has to be a minimum of 100,000 assessed value.
Correct.
so
So they could apply for the abatement, we could approve it, if it doesn't come assessed value of 100, they wouldn't get it. Is that
Yes,
correct?
that could be,
we could put that contingency
Yes.
into our motion.
I don't think we need to, I think that's just how the policy works.
Okay,
If it doesn't meet it, it don't.
All
Right,
right.
we can approve it, and if it doesn't meet 100,000, they don't get it.
Why, can I ask, why was 100,000 set as the threshold?
before his time.
I don't
I
know.
didn't know if we were
I
gonna
mean,
do
you
that.
guys
That was
decide,
before
or,
my time even. That was fairly new policy when I got on.
Probably a way to not have to do a tax
12
abatement
years
on
ago.
Every little
every
application.
little, somebody. put a
2014.
Pent up and wants to,
You said, it was right before I got on.
But I think it's been a good
it's been great.
program, good policy for our county citizens to incentivize them to build,
Absolutely.
to do something new, to add to our tax base. I was just curious with 100,000 why that.
Right.
If that's the policy,
We don't like it. We have
100,000's
to
the
change it.
threshold, that's what it has to meet.
Well,
You know, with inflation, we could only,
Right.
100,000 in
I didn't think we could build something that wouldn't be $100,000.
But yeah,
You know?
that's what's
Not
surprising
now,
me.
no.
Right, that's what I meant.
Well, I'm with Craig. I think if it don't meet the
Okay,
threshold,
there we
We
go.
can approve it.
All right,
And you as your assessor's office will, obviously
We'll
evaluate
monitor,
that
yep.
prior to it.
when do they think
So
they'll
you
be
put on
done?
sure it's assessed at
Did they get to that?
August of
August?
this year.
and you will notify him that that is the threshold.
I did mention that to him when he was in. Yes, we will be in contact and
But is he including the cost of digging and putting a basement in and bringing a manufactured house in, getting it all set, getting sidewalks, decks on? I don't know how you
he,
get that.
said 32,000 for the basement foundation, 25,000 for used dwelling, 12,000 for the septic, and 16,000 moving expense.
Moving expense.
8-9 years.
They're moving
Okay.
it from
Moving
Carroll
it,
County
yeah.
to.
We'll just have to wait and see. So we have a motion? Correct? Did we get a second?
Second.
All right, got a second. Any further discussion? Now I'll call the vote. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed?
I'm in favor of it.
Okay.
I was just late.
Chair votes
Wait.
aye, so that abatement has been approved. All right. Oh,
On the bottom.
Thanks, Seth.
I do question, maybe we need to revisit that or update it a little bit or have. And like moving expenses, is that? I mean,
I know that assess.
will that affect the assessment? I mean, you can't,
No.
you can't assess moving expenses in the property. So
It's
when you
not.
get to that point, when it's, they said done or whatever, and you have to go out and assess it, I mean, that's, I don't know, you can't hold that moving expense as part of,
No, that won't be to build a garage.
that's just part of doing business.
Yeah.
But maybe it wouldn't be bad to sometime sit down with Seth and put it on the agenda and just go through the policy. And I don't know if there's other counties that have similar policies we could look up and
Yeah.
maybe if we need to tweak it, see what you think, Seth.
Okay.
might be a time to update it a little
Okay.
bit, so,
We've
yeah.
had some serious inflationary times, so.
Right.
Time to look at it.
I'm concerned that I haven't thought of it.
Yeah. Spend kind of a day like that.
Sounds good, thank you.
Thank you, Seth.
Hey, thanks,
Then the agenda, I'll get out today probably.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and talk.
Very good. And then put it on the website for us.
I will try to.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you. All right. Discuss and take action on the new hire personnel day policy, personal day. So Jerry, do you want to take that or that?
Sure, unless Terry, if you want me to.
Terry wants to do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna start. Sure, go for it. I first wanted to start by saying that I think this is a great policy. I think giving the employees 5 days is a huge benefit and enticing to get them to come join us. The problem is, going back to the old saying, you don't know what you don't know until you figure it out.
We learn every day.
We learn every day. So I'm asking if we could consider tweaking our policy. And the reason I'm asking that, Terry and I discussed this last week, I had 2 new employees start and both of them left the same day. The day they left, they came to me, one of them came to me and said, hey, I have 5 personal days. What do I do? And I said, well, you don't need to pay for them. You have to, you would have had to have used them by now. She says, well, I gave you a 2-week notice. I've got 5 days left, so I'd like to use them now.
Oh.
Okay then. So I got hold of Jack because I didn't know what else to do. And Jack said, yes, I had to grant her those days.
Mhm.
The other one, because our policy says you don't get paid for them upon termination, and I think that's what we want, but I just feel like we need to somehow tweak this. The other one said, oh, well, I've got 3 days left. Well, 3 days, she had 3 days left before her last day, so they both left me last week, same day. 2:30 in the afternoon approximately, I found out they were both gonna be done at 4:30.
Get out of town.
So Sherry, are you thinking about having them accrue them over time or?
So Terry reached out and found a couple of things that other counties are doing. I meant either that, or I like some of the provision here, either that or say, put something in there saying that you have to have it approved before you give your notice, because if this would have been the case on these, they had already handed me their official 2-week notice, and then afterwards asked. So I'd like to see something in there saying they have to be used or requested before that 2-week notice was turned in, or accrue them per paycheck, per month, per quarter, I don't care, just.
How long did they work?
One was 10 months and
Okay.
one was just started the end of November, so.
To me, you'd think it would be just natural, but Jack said that it wouldn't work that way, but if they gave their termination notice and didn't use them.
That's what I thought.
Well,
And it
and
would've
our
been-
policy currently says department head approval, so I'm surprised that he said that you had to grant it.
Right.
Because, I mean,
Agreed.
I was surprised by that,
I
and
am
I knew you had
too.
talked to him.
They
but-
terminated their own without
Yeah.
applying for it
Right,
or asking for it.
We thought so long and hard, when we were trying to adopt this policy. Number one, I remember avoiding having it, them being able to roll it over for more time, which didn't seem fair to the employees that'd been here for 10 years, because then they. So I can't believe that we didn't cover ourselves on that you and I.
Well,
noticed
Well,
that.
that department head approval thing did go.
I thought so
I
too,
thought so too,
Well,
but like
do you
I
think-
said.
so that was kind of
Do you think
unusual.
maybe we need to call Jack again and
Well,
kind of,
I reached out to Chelsea, that.
Okay, all right.
You know, the gal that's working with him currently, and asked her, if we could include language to not allow the use of those personal days in conjunction with a resignation and the 2 weeks notice. And she said, yes, that there's a way that we can definitely include some language like that. So,
That's what we need.
here's kind of I think the
I think so.
catchphrase on it though, and let's think about this, it's upon your approval for having your days off, and you don't really wanna approve those,
right,
so don't approve them.
Well, I reached out to Jack and said, do I have to grant these? And he said, yes. So to me, that's.
Did he read our policy?
Well, he's got the
He's our
policy.
HR consultant.
So I just wondered, did
I
he go
know,
back,
but he's quick, you know, sometimes he's quick to react and doesn't always
I think maybe we need
understand
to
the
point
whole,
that word
you know
out
what
to
I
him.
mean, but.
I would just
Anyway.
ask that we do a little bit more
Yeah.
research, because I've got somebody starting tomorrow, and I've got another position that I'm trying to fill. I kind of need to tell them, and I don't want to hand Molly
No.
5 days tomorrow and then have her leave on Friday and.
No.
She's got 5 more days.
No,
And part of the policy was you don't get paid out,
Right.
which we asked for.
yeah,
That's why it's called personal instead of vacation.
correct,
Right,
But I still feel like I kind of got burnt on it a little bit.
right,
we have
And
to,
maybe that was my fault, because I thought the same thing, department head approval. But I felt like I was also covering myself by getting a hold of Jack, because if one of these employees would have came back, he would have probably had to represent us or stand behind
Yeah.
the decision.
We just need to add the verbiage in there that will not be paid out upon with.
Termination.
but it
Well,
doesn't cover us 100% though,
used.
if somebody knows they're going to be resigning.
Could we say, if you leave within the first year, you pay them back? Would that be a possibility?
You
I don't
can't pay
know.
him back.
I don't think
that's
so.
I mean, it's not that, yeah, it's,
Yeah,
No?
yeah, I don't think that, I don't think that would work. I think we just need to put some sort of verbiage in there that they will not be able to. Obviously, it says department head approval, but Jack says, well, I mean, nothing, basically, is what he told you.
doesn't mean anything,
He did not say.
He didn't say that, but he said you
Not
need to
mean
pay
anything.
him.
He said I needed to let them have them.
But if Chelsea said there's a way to put in the verbiage,
I think that-
And Chelsea says in her email, she says, we do have it stated in the policy that must be approved in advance by the department head. But we could add that they cannot be used. So she's kind of saying the complete opposite.
Well,
Is
Jack,
it like talking to mom and not getting what you, or, so you call dad, or, yeah.
every time I
Put that
talk to
verbiage,
Jack,
let's put that verbiage.
Yeah, I
the more
think so.
information you give him about the situation, the more he can kind of, work with it a little bit. I feel like for you not to be able to give the approval on a personal day, and if they're saying, well, you don't have to approve it, now you have somebody that can call you up and they can't take that personal day because you're already short somebody or whatever.
Right.
You have to give them that day.
Exactly. So
And
weird.
so what good is it you can have it if they're saying, oh, you can take personal day whenever you want to, nobody can stop you. And so I really think that we need to put the teeth in the policy we already have,
Mhm.
because so much of the time, we have a
That
policy,
resignation
we're not really
language or
following
whatever.
it. I think this one, the teeth is, you need approval. Dave, what's your question?
Not a question, but I'd just say, to me, moving forward, if Terry or whoever can reach out to Chelsea, get that verbiage written up for us, that we have, put it on next week's agenda.
Now we know something.
Well, it's on
we
here
gotta
to
head
take
off.
action.
Well, we're not gonna
Oh, do
take
we have the
action.
verbiage
Well,
today?
we can, the verbiage is here. We can
And
take
that they
action.
cannot be used once a
I'm sure you
resignation
can.
notice.
should
is
be
I'm not in
How it's
favor of
gonna be.
doing that, because I think we still need to go back and see if we have the teeth that we think we have and not pay it. Why be held to
Right.
our feet to the ground that we didn't approve it? We shouldn't have to give it. I believe.
did end
What's
up
our-
approving it.
They have already
We've
received
already
their checks.
Oh, you did.
It's
So,
already done.
so Jack told me that I had to grant that, so I went and said, you got it, and okay, so today's my last day.
Oh,
And it was a quick thing, I get it, and I didn't want it to turn into a lawsuit, it's easier just to
That ship's not-
follow what Jack
Right.
said right now,
This
she's
shift is
done,
here.
and then
Your
correct
shift
it.
is here.
Skip has less the hard
She
work,
wants to
okay,
fix
all
it.
right.
And we got a new ship wanting to come in, so
All
let's
right.
fix it today.
And if they, I didn't, so I'm sorry, Terry, I did not.
No,
realize
it's
you had the
okay.
Verbiage yet.
It's okay.
But here's the other deal. Are we sure that has teeth in it, and before we approve
Are
it?
we ever though? I mean, I'm
Thought
just
we were good
saying.
Last time.
Well, we thought we did last time.
No,
It's still a step in the right
exactly.
direction.
Right.
Crazy.
Okay, so you guys are in favor of taking the motion, even though we haven't ran it by Jack?
I mean, we could do a
Don't wanna
motion
do
to
it.
table this next
Coming
week.
from Jack.
It came from Jack's office.
came from here.
Chelsea's from Jack's office.
Chelsea's from Jack's office, so what
Yeah.
she's saying, they would support that, it sounds to me like,
Right.
so.
So read the verbiage to me again, make sure I understand it. How
But we can add that they cannot be used, meaning the personal days cannot be used, once a resignation notice has been given.
I still don't like that, because if you know you're gonna resign, sorry, I'm just talking it out,
I
Kyle.
know what,
I know.
there's no perfect answer, I know where you're
Here's
going.
You know you're gonna resign, so
Right.
all of a sudden you take 5 personal days because
Have
they ask for
people-
them,
Then you
and then
resign.
they resign when they come back after the 5 personal days. Yes, Ty?
What does it sound like if we say these 5 personal days cannot be used for any resignation within that first year? You see what I'm getting at,
Yeah,
defining
what
it?
Gina's saying, so you know, you got a new job. You tell these people I'll be there in 3 weeks. You get sick for 5 days and use them days, then you come back and give your 2-week notice.
That's what I'm trying to
At least
avoid.
I had 2 weeks to
Right.
get things under
Right.
control and make plans, so.
Not the way you wanna see it, but
Right, but it's better
than this.
The only way
I
to
don't- I
ever
think it's
truly
unavoidable.
take any exposure from us away would be to eliminate them days. Completely.
Right, or disseminate them one day a quarter or something, or 2 days upon hire and then 1 day for the remaining quarters for that first year.
That's why I wanted to get a little bit more in the weeds with this, rather than just saying what, attaching it to resignation, because I'm trying to avoid the 5 days before you give the 2 weeks, because then they've technically had 3 weeks off where we're paying them, and the whole time they were planning on coming back.
we accrue it,
That's what
throughout the first year, like we would vacation. Could it be prorated?
Well, that's the way
out
this
into
Franklin
hours?
County kind of does it, and I just had it here this morning, so I've had a chance to read the whole thing through.
They,
Uh,
they've got a point.
How
They
does
said
that work with, I mean, we approved the 5 days. Did Chelsea or Jack say anything about our current employees? How does that affect them if they've already used their 5 days, or if now they're gonna accrue? Does it gain a day? Or are they out? I mean, if we change it again, does it start all over? I mean, how does it
I think
affect
it
our?
would be
I
from
think I
here
answered
forward.
it for new employees only. This would be
Right.
for new
It's
hires,
only new
so we don't have to worry about.
From whatever day you approve it onward.
And
So
with
those
Sarah
new
has new
employees.
hire, she's already gotten her 5 days, we wouldn't ask to take those away.
Right.
I've
Okay.
got somebody starting tomorrow, we would tell her, you're gonna get 5 days the first year, this is how you will accrue it.
Basically like Grant's got drawn out in his. The one in April.
And we had talked about that when we gave the 5 days, because we realized the
We did.
difficulties
We
of
did.
hiring new people and getting them to stay and
We did.
what they had.
How'd that work out?
Well, we didn't expect that to happen this fast, but it did. I'm just surprised that upon approval of the department head, that
I know, me
doesn't,
too.
doesn't stop that.
I'm
I know.
disappointed, but
Yeah,
Did
we'll
we
move,
not have
we'll move on.
discussion when we were discussing it to begin with about having an accrual type deal?
We did,
talked
we
because
did.
And at that time, it was decided by this board and everybody thought that just give them 5 days
We
right
did.
up front.
We did.
We did.
So I'm still in favor of that, cause apparently at that time, back in January, that we thought that was the best. And I still think that has some merit to it.
Yeah.
Cause if you got young kids, 'cause you were struggling with that one individual you wanted to hire, but they couldn't take it, 'cause,
Yeah.
you know, cause they didn't have that. Like, tying it to an accrual basis,
Going
they
backwards.
still don't have it. They gotta earn it first.
That's,
Well, that's exactly what I was thinking.
and even, yeah,
I just think you make it, I mean, I get where you know, having these people disappear or leave early and you don't have time to recover from it. I get how that works, so I understand what your concern is there. So that's why if you tie it to this, I mean, if you can think of something else that it could cause problems for you in the first year, we better hurry up and figure that out. But I think just tying that somehow to you can't use it as part of a resignation or, you know, while you're quitting, I think that would be otherwise, you know, just leave it specific for that. Otherwise, that'd be the only way it looks to me at this point that it's creating.
Cannot be used in coordination with termination or resignation.
There you go. Great. Thank you.
I still think we're not addressing the entire problem, and that's why it's always hard for me to take
Which
action on
problem?
something
What part of the problem aren't you addressing?
the fact that we have no control over if they wanna take their 5 days, knowing full good and well that they're gonna give you 2 weeks when they get back from their 5-day personal days. I don't know if that addresses it, cause you already proved it.
The
Am I wrong?
ironic thing is this,
Yeah.
if
you're not
we
following?
had an employee that's been here for 25 plus years, they get 5 weeks vacation annually. They know they're gonna resign 5 weeks, they're gonna retire 5 weeks after their anniversary date. They can be gone hypothetically 10 weeks and then be done.
Right.
We're just giving
In
them all the clues
session,
away.
so I mean, we can sit here till the
Okay,
cows come home and go back and come back home again. Trying to think of every niche that we're gonna get burnt, and we're gonna get burnt somewhere again.
okay, all right.
That's all I'm saying is, we gotta have faith in our employees,
Okay,
that this ain't gonna happen every
In
time.
conjunction with the 2-week notice,
Yeah.
I mean, something like.
That's why I
that.
just tie it in the, that's,
we can try it. Yes. Trying to make them raise their hands and not all talk at the same time. How are we doing?
Okay.
Um,
I'm not doing very good.
and even if-
Sorry.
Even if Chelsea came back and said, or Jack, that you do have the authority not to grant those days, you might not know if they're gonna have that in the back of their mind to do anyways.
Right. That's what I was trying to say.
But and to Kyle's point, add in, so you're right, I mean, we can't fix every little thing as they come up, but we can try to at least streamline it, or at least make it spelled out, and I think this is the right step to do that.
Right.
All right,
So,
let's give it a
so
try.
with that, I'd make the motion to add that verbiage.
Let's give it a go.
I'll second that.
All right, any further discussion on said motion?
I mean, cause the department heads think that it's the, what do you wanna say, I guess, the chance of us getting took for those 5 days. Is it worth having that incentive there to hire new employees? Is it a big enough incentive, or do we just go back to, you know, you just don't offer it, just don't have it?
I think it's a big enough incentive.
I know, I think it's a good policy.
It just happened.
It is.
That, I mean, when you have policies like this, the chances that you could be taken advantage of are out there. Just like, I guess how Kyle said about our vacation and
Yeah.
how it accrues and when people leave and that sort of stuff. I mean, if that's how it's written, you can be taken advantage of if you call it that. But, it's worth it to have the policy in place.
Mhm.
Okay.
I'll just make one comment.
All right,
You know, a Lachlan keeps an honest person out. So I mean, you got something that defines to basically preserve your 2 weeks to help find somebody in place now. I mean, and any other thing that you see what I'm getting.
Yep.
Ty has a saying for everything, so that was just one of them. Okay. Dave?
Real quick, Terry, could you maybe reach out to Chelsea and find out, I mean, I wanna approve this today, but maybe get a little bit more clarification on when you can grant those and when not, or department heads, those days, when you can approve them
Oh,
and not, and then
yeah,
maybe
I
spell out.
will.
And
I'll
give-
include you in on the emails so we can explain what was told to you last week?
I could even share my email, cause I think I have it all in writing.
Just to maybe
Okay.
spell out better for our department heads.
Right, cause it's hard, I mean, one office, I mean, not office, but this company is giving us two different
Right.
answers,
So
kind of,
we can
so.
still pass
Not
this, but
good.
yet have more clarification on those approval days. And
Absolutely.
your guys' ability to do that.
And that's why you always wanna kinda
Yep.
make sure you ask it in underways. Somebody on Zoom is wondering what happens if they don't give a 2-week notice.
Well, I was gonna,
Is that you?
no.
Okay.
But with what you guys are talking about, is there any verbiage in there where she actually needs to give a 2-week notice per se? I mean, because in a termination, you're not gonna give them 2-week notice for termination. Because a 2-week notice, in the way I understand it, is just a common courtesy for the employee to give
Correct,
to the company.
correct.
They do not have to actually give a 2-week notice.
That's right.
So I kind of go with this, maybe it's a fluke. People are gonna do what people are gonna do. And if you're having a hard time, you're gonna need incentives, and some of those incentives are what you guys are talking about, the PTO time. And as with the Zoom question, if you're gonna change the verbiage, are you gonna change it then to, well, you need to give us at least a 2-week notice? I'm gonna say that the lawyer's gonna say that you can't do that.
I asked Jack if somebody called me and asked if they gave me a 2-week notice, if I had to say they did, because now they really haven't. And he said, yes, that could be taken into consideration, but I now did not get a 2-week notice from that individual. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Brenda gave me 2 weeks notice, but 5 days she's using her
that can't,
personal
yeah.
time, so now
She
she's
can't
no longer
leave.
giving me a 2-week notice. And I told both of them that, I said, if anybody ever calls me to ask me if you gave me, you know, cause employers wanna know what kind of employer you're gonna be. If they ask me if you gave me a 2-week notice, my honest answer would be, no, I did not get a 2-week notice.
You did not. I have a hard time accepting things, so I have to just let the ship sail, so.
There are things we cannot fix,
That's what I
cannot
said.
change.
I fight it every time.
Unfortunately,
You've
no
watched
matter
me.
how hard you can or cannot accept things.
Trying to make rules.
I've learned sometimes you just
Stop
gotta
everything is almost impossible.
grin your teeth, bear it, and chalk it up as, let's move on, let's try to fix this so it don't happen again.
I'm 100% about
Every
that.
law, rule ever made in time has, because somebody thought, oh, geez, I never thought of that. Let's try to make a rule for that.
I'm okay with saying, you know, if it clearly states department heads discretion, as long as I know that I'm backed, should I deny that, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I just didn't, as quick as it happened, I didn't want it to come back on me, and that's why I reached
I
out to
get it.
Jack quickly to make sure
Yep,
I was covered as a department head,
We're all learning.
right?
yeah, no, you
We're
did
all learning.
exactly the right thing, Sherry, because you had to, but I just am disappointed that, you really didn't want to approve that. And it just feels like it takes the teeth out of somebody calling up and saying, hey, I'm gonna take my personal day to day, and you say, wait a minute, I only got 2 people coming in, you can't take a personal day to day. You didn't approve it, they're gonna take it anyway, and you gotta pay it. That's the scenario I'm trying to avoid.
Right.
So, laid that out. I don't accept, no as easily as you do, so I'm
Well, I don't know if I'm
Or yes.
there's nothing, we can't go back and change that, but we can try to put steps
I
in
get
place to keep it from happening again.
Gene, the flip side of it is we take that away and then it takes a good incentive.
Oh, I have no desire to take it away.
employees,
None.
so then-
That's not where I'm going with it. I just want those days back that we gave.
Cindy, Krudoff asked a question.
Oh, Cindy,
She wanted to know how much we're paying Jack. I think we're here on retainer for 500 a month,
More.
more,
6,800 a year.
6,800 a year.
Yeah, I think it's 6,800 a year.
And 500 a month would be $6,000.
I don't know.
Okay,
I'll have to look.
Great question,
Let you know.
Cindy, thank you.
less than 10 grand.
I'll let you know, Cindy.
Right?
Right, it's less than 10.
Yeah,
I thought it was, 600 a month.
600 a month.
Maybe it is.
Might have went
I
from
don't know.
500 to
Goes
600.
up every year, so.
I just think that they
Almost.
should be held accountable for giving 2 separate answers, because that could have been a lawsuit potentially happening with the county.
But we'll dig into that, and that's why I want to have follow-up with where our teeth are really at with the approval of these days.
Yep.
Good questions. Always
And maybe
appreciate
go
them.
back on me, maybe I did not give him enough
And he
information,
might
but
have
I
been
feel like,
responsible.
but I
You should
feel
have
like
asked.
I did. I
Okay,
feel
yeah,
like I
we
did,
can't go
maybe-
backwards. I agree
No.
with Kyle. I agree with everybody. We're beating a dead horse. So I think the best we can do is try to put this new policy in place.
You don't know what you don't.
That, yeah, you don't know what you don't know. Another good one there, Ty.
So,
But-
well,
I call a question.
Okay,
We got a motion to.
all right, all in favor, aye?
aye.
Alright,
Any opposed, same sign. Chair votes aye, so we have a new policy in place and let's just hope that we, learn from all of the things we do every day. All right, works for everybody in the department heads? All righty, so we are down to citizens input. So who is here is, anybody in the audience? Zoom, anybody have anything for citizen input? Would like to add? Music count, oh,
They're dropping like.
they're
flies.
dropping off, so, all righty.
Jake does, Jake does.
Jake,
I got one minor thing, and it should, I need some direction from the board. We've got headsets that we're purchasing for the rental systems, okay? I have two options. One of them is a lease option and the other one is an outright purchase. There are approximately, we did a count about a month ago, about 20 headsets total. The decision's kind of split between 1 year and 2. What I'm bringing to, the reason why I'm bringing this to the board is the lease versus outright purchase.
Of the
portion of
headsets.
it,
How
For the
much?
headsets.
Yeah, how much?
How
Give us
much?
money.
So the 1 year, you can't purchase the 1 year, okay?
So that's the lease.
Yes, that is the lease, okay? The 2 years are a purchase, or flat out purchase, okay? If we went and purchased all of them, it's gonna be $5,200, okay?
For 20?
of them. I'm sorry?
For 20 of them?
Yes, they're $265 a piece. So, the,
Blue pair.
no, the catch with purchasing outright is if they break, if something happens to them, we gotta purchase another one, okay? With the lease option, they offer support with them, so if they do break, they replace them, no questions asked. Also, as time goes on, if they have an upgrade, they replace them, no questions asked. So,
so how much is the
How
lease?
much is the lease then?
the lease is $10 per per unit per month, okay? The total cost for you is $2,400 a year for the lease.
The cost of a new one.
How long they last? I mean, I haven't seen any issues with them, granted, they're still brand new,
So in 2 years, you basically paid for them.
in a sense, yeah.
Who is all requesting these headsets?
It's, I've got some for the treasurer, I've got some for the assessor, I've got a couple for the, county attorney. So it's a mixed bag between all the departments.
So are they gonna be wearing them, I'm asking because I don't know the answer.
Mhm.
Are they gonna wear them all day long, or they just put them on when they're on a certain conversation, because I always visualize, a headset with the receptionist, because she's got things going.
Well, these headsets are wireless, so
Okay.
they can walk
Okay.
around and be doing other things, they can be
So it's Bluetooth
multitasking,
connected.
it adds to the efficiency.
It's a Bluetooth connection
Pretty much,
I
I
got
don't
a
think it's a
Blue Tiger
Bluetooth, but
Elite
it's
that I
wireless.
paid 65 bucks, we'll just say that, in my truck. And I'm pretty sure I've had it for 7 years.
But here's the other
Blue
question.
Parrot's been taking a beating on that.
I would not wanna walk around with 2 earphones on all day.
Mhm.
I would rather have it not even hardly show at
Sure.
all, just a little something in my ear. I don't even want a headset, I just want something little in my ear.
Mhm.
But
Why do
that's
we
not
need-
what it is.
Is that what it
It
is?
goes all the way over.
It goes all the way
It's like a
over,
Bluetooth.
so,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Even the
Doesn't
one
have
year,
the second.
the 1 years do, yes, okay.
So if
So it's not as
Maybe
floppy
probably
as the
won't like
ones that we used to have.
Yeah, they
Sometimes
can
those
flip
that are
off.
Yeah.
holding.
I think the reason I'm asking all these questions again is because I don't want to get something that nobody wants to wear, they're not comfortable, or they
Right.
mess up your hair, sorry to bring
That's
that
why
one.
we're not rolling it out to the entire populace here, it's
Okay.
only gonna be 20, some, like, Sherry's is gonna probably commit all in, but
Yeah.
like,
So-
secondary roads, they're not using them at all.
Right.
So,
Sure, have you seen them and you approve of them?
I have not.
I have not seen them
He's
yet.
just talking about it.
Public health is actually using the double ear ones.
They own them?
We're not
Yeah.
using them now.
Dave?
So why, I mean, are they absolutely critical? I mean, if they didn't have them in your offices, would it be,
A make or break, no, but it would be, they would be nice.
Like I said, it's gonna add to worker efficiency.
And then some of it, in my office, they're on the computer and the phone a lot, so you're doing one of these numbers.
Yep.
My driver's license gals are going from the front desk to their desk back and forth for different things, and the cord doesn't always stretch, or they pull the phone off, or, my office would really get some good use out of them, I feel.
And just to add, we had this before with the old system. The only reason they just didn't make them anymore, that's right, why we couldn't replace them. So,
One more question, then it's time for Kyle. Can you answer the phone away from the phone? Got it.
you just tap your ear and away you
How
go.
long you're within
Kyle's up.
Bluetooth connection to them.
Right, I mean, obviously you can't be downstairs, if you're.
Good
I'm
point.
only bringing this up because
I can go 53 foot.
we just need to be, you mentioned secondary roads. There's 20-some employees that are operating vehicles. According to DOT, you have to have them. Cannot be on your phone unless you have a Bluetooth headset on. Are we gonna, and then we bring conservation into this and the sheriff's department, should we just order a truckload of these or what?
Well,
I'm just saying, cause if we buy them for I'm not against this, I'm just
Appreciate it, Kyle.
devil's advocate. If we buy them for 20 employees, we just will buy them for 60 employees.
these aren't designed for mobile phones. These are for the
Well,
ringers that sit on the desks.
We'll have to buy some that are designed, or we're gonna have to buy some that are designed for mobile phones then. Cause why does X employee have to pay for their own, why employee gets theirs paid for by the county? I'm just throwing this out.
It's gonna come up, you know it.
It
That's
is.
why you did it.
5 personal days or what? I mean, these things come up, that's why I'm throwing it out.
5 personal days or heads.
And the only reason why I brought secondary roads up is because they're not answering picking that guy up and, using they don't use a headset down there as far as.
No, the people out in the country,
Right.
running the motor graders, the truck drivers, the conservation guy on his lawnmower. They're working for the county and they use their phone for county business, so that's all
right,
I'm
where do
just
you
saying,
start
we're-
and stop?
I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but I'm just saying we can open ourselves up to.
And, well, and
Truckload of these things.
I understand that, but my whole point was we were just
How many
talking
public
about
health do we
phone
need?
system here. As far as these lease and other options, those headsets aren't designed to go with a mobile phone.
How about public health? Have we talked about them yet? How
Well,
many?
they've already purchased the headsets, they got the dual ears, they're.
Jake, Kyle's point isn't that they go with just a landline phone. His point is that if they're on county time,
Sure.
you offer them the same ability.
Right, I get that,
Cause it will come.
right,
Was it an issue with the last headsets that we had? Cause the last phone systems already had it, did everybody throw fit them saying, well, if you got it, I want it?
So why didn't the new phone system didn't give this as an option right away?
it is it's available as an option, I just wanted to get the phones in place first, and then I went around and talked about the headsets.
Or it wasn't an option or a problem before, cause it was never brought to I didn't know public health had any.
Yeah, they're just.
I didn't know there
Neither
was.
did I. Probably not what it
You need to join the IT board. Right?
And I get it, I mean, I use one on the farm, they are very, very handy.
Yeah.
I just hate to get 20 of them and then they don't work right, or they don't like them for whatever XYZ reason,
And they don't get used.
or they don't get used.
The other item.
Especially at $260.
The other idea is you could, to mitigate a little bit of cost, you could split it in half as far as some departments get the 1 year option, the 1 year with the lease, and others could just purchase outright. And then, I did do the math on that one, and between both, it would have been $3,200.
Do you have the money in your budget to do that this fiscal year?
It's there. It was anticipated.
Then
The only
it was
reason
in
why I
the
bring it
budget.
We can talk about
That-
it.
yeah.
Yeah, the only reason,
If it's in the budget, we're not even here.
No, the question that I'm coming into
He's not
is
elected, he's
lease
our-
versus outright purchase. That's the reason why I'm bringing this before the board, okay? I don't know the policy on leases as far as how we were gonna proceed with that and how you wanted.
Well, what did you budget 5,000 to purchase or 2,500 to lease?
I didn't know there was a leasing option. I thought we were purchasing outright with the phones.
So you've got 5,000 in your budget to buy it.
This is correct.
Okay.
So, but there is a little grace to having that, you know, if something breaks, you could just, they'll replace it, so.
With the lease option.
Mhm.
Is there with
But
the
we're paying for it,
employees,
so.
do they prefer the 1 year versus 3 years, or do you know, should I get Sherry, Terry?
Like I
I
said.
might have one or two in mind that would do it. Mary would, cause she's from the books, from her computer to the books and.
But do you know what
being
style
hands-free,
she would prefer?
Probably the single ear, I would guess. I haven't talked to her about it yet.
I don't care. I just said whatever was best for the county.
Right, and the assessor's the same way. The county attorneys, both Bonnie and Joni, they like the 1 year option. So,
Just, no, 2 years, all day
I know.
long.
I
that's-
know.
yeah,
It would
and
save some money.
the other side of the coin,
One
This
year,
is
on
like
one
that.
year. I have a hard time hearing.
and Seth mentioned this too, is that you can shift that to be, you know, just a little bit off your head.
Only
as
available
far as
on
one
1
side.
year lease.
Mhm.
So,
The other thing you might consider
just can't
doing is
buy
just purchasing half of them right now. Let each office use it. You would make sure everybody's gonna use them before you buy any more. Because if I had Tammy and Lori using them and Amy and Kristen saw it, hell, there's no way that's gonna work for us, then why do we don't need them?
Correct. That's kind of the other part of that. That's why you wanna make sure.
See if,
So buy like 10.
see
So the
how they
year and
work
then-
and if we're gonna like them and if we're gonna
Right.
use them. So
I
you
like
don't have
that.
27 laying around on a desk like the last ones.
Exactly.
Jake,
well, they never, just a correction, they never laid on a desk. The only reason why they laid it on a desk was because they were either the battery was dead in them and I couldn't replace them, or but they were used. There was no question about that.
this is
Hey, what
our
is-
only option to tie into these phones, there aren't other
I have looked
headsets
at,
available?
I looked at
elsewhere?
other headsets and it was very, very cumbersome to try to get it to integrate with the phone. This one that I looked at, it's really intuitive, okay?
just Bluetooth, if it's just Bluetooth, why is it cumbersome?
I'm not talking about I'm talking about the new phone, the ones that I gauged for work seamlessly, okay? The others that I was exploring had issues, and that's why I'm not considering that.
Ty's point is, it's a Bluetooth connection, you should be able to go to any Radio Shack or Verizon or whatever. And get a Bluetooth headset, that shouldn't be cumbersome to hook up to a Bluetooth.
You'd be surprised. I actually had it, and I was trying to get one to work, and it would not handshake with the phone.
Sherry has a question.
Yeah.
Well, why wouldn't you maybe consider leasing for 1 year? And then you have the option to see how well they work, if they're gonna break, if they're gonna upgrade them, if we're gonna use them before you even decide to purchase. And then you're only $2,400 invested in it. If you don't like them, then the next year when you purchase half or none.
I mean, yeah, there's all kinds of different ways to go about this. The biggest,
Why is he so much?
the biggest point was I just didn't know how the board would feel about leasing, versus purchasing.
Well, not knowing what they're gonna like
Well, it's
or
in your
use, I'd
budget.
rather
Right,
lease.
might be a good option.
Yeah.
So, I
Sherry's
mean,
option
Let
sounds
our
pretty
IT
good.
I like what
director
Sherry
decide.
said.
okay, so leasing for the year and then,
And then just see how many people you really have, that have real interest in you.
okay, so there isn't an issue with that
No.
specific portion, okay?
I think the most important thing is that the people that are using them like the style, because as I would not like to wear them over my head, I don't think, you know, even though I could push them off, because it's just a bad hair day then, because you got this thing in your hair and you're gonna look like,
Some of us don't worry about that.
well, you know, unless you put some little ears on them and something to make them cute. I don't
I mean,
know.
and we've
Get them
had,
leased.
yeah, and there was complaints about just.
Thank you for bringing it to our attention, so we kind
Yeah.
of know what's going on. Appreciate
Okay.
that.
Narrow it down to
Get
who
some
really
solid
needs one.
numbers,
I'm
yeah.
always glad we have department heads in here that can kind of actually talk for the people that are going to use them, because it's a decision I don't like to have to make, because I'm not gonna be one that's wearing them, so I hate to make a decision based on that. Okay. All right, thanks for bringing it to us.
Yeah, no
I
problem.
hate for
Thank
you to
you.
have a bad.
We helped you think your way through it. How's that? All right. Anything else? Otherwise, I'm gonna call for adjournment. Going once, going twice. Got a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Can stay here all day, otherwise, is-
We'll be there. Us
All right,
chickens.
thank you, everybody. Did you miss it? You
I
didn't want
just
to be.
wanted to confirm that HSA amounts, yep, that is supposed to be 132 a month. That the county is contributing.
Yep, it's the difference in
Okay.
All right, good job, you guys. I thought it was very well
difference in that for
organized.
that and that for
Work out
that.
everybody.
Definitely enough time to go and get lunch and eat with grandma.
132 at the end.
Oh,
Okay, I just want to make sure. I
No,
wanna
it's
make
monthly.
Everyone's.
yeah, very, very